Alright, the ding is on, and welcome everyone to the Apostasy Now love stream. We got Iain and Karn with us, and who knows who will pop in and out as we go through whatever the fuck we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to start right now by saying Gregory Elliott, not guilty. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a badly needed victory that was 3 years, wasn't it, since that started.
Been that long.
For him, it's been a badly needed victory.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's still going to be picking up the pieces for a while. He never, ever, ever should have been put in this position in the first place, but
No.
was, and the victory is well deserved.
Overdue and well deserved. Yeah.
And I hope that he gets tons of support from friends, family, the internet, and the legal system to help pick up the pieces and start rebuilding his life, because, man, that was bullshit to begin with. Just utter bullshit.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Maybe if they keep kicking up a stink, Trudeau, our new prime minister, will reach down and overturn it somehow, or create some new laws and still put him on the altar, sacrifice him.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, God bless it. Like the man who said he'd legalize marijuana and gets into office and says, "Oh, we can't do that. We've signed a bunch of treaties back in the 60s and 70s."
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Internal treaties. As if Native Americans are sitting around going, "Hey, you cannot legalize that."
Yeah.
That was a terrible Native American accent.
Well,
You know,
I'm just a mere racist. I do my best.
yeah. Treaties that you signed whilst movies like Reefer Madness were in the cinemas, you know, and you're thinking, well, this is incredibly relevant today. Like, you know that he's just trying to find a way out of it, and it's probably at the behest of the pharmaceutical industry, and this is the lamest excuse that they've been able to give him, that like, oh, you can't do that legally, or legally you've got reasons why you don't have to live up to that promise. It's shocking. He's wishy-washy. He's an absolute globalist, and
well, I've been getting flack on my Facebook and in my exchanges over the last week in particular because I've been going after him for his shit. Now, unlike other world leaders who might say that they support feminism, or maybe even say they are, he brings it into everything he does from day one when he took office. And I've been trying to raise some red flags about what this means. My favorite was I replied to someone. They had a couple of these meaningless quotes from him where he's like, something to the effect of, quote, feminism is something that men and women should be able to call themselves and feel good about it wherever they go.
Wasn't he at some sort of economic forum when he did that?
Yeah, well, he talks about it everywhere.
Right.
And so I took out feminism and I exchanged fascism, and then later put in National Socialism. Like, this is a meaningless quote, right? Like, the only thing that's significant is he believes absolutely that it's true, and that is what is the concern here.
Right. Well, I'm not going to drag anything in particular into the open, because I know I know some of these exchanges you've had personally.
I'm not shy about it with people I know in the real world.
Right. But the fact of the matter is that there are some choices that he made for his cabinet in particular that were okay, and there were some choices for his cabinet
that were women.
Jesus. No. that were political cronyism and kickbacks and whatnot. And I mean, this happens in every administration. It happens with every prime minister, president, whatever. You know, they all put buddies into positions of power. The only counter I ever really had in that conversation when that was going down was that there were better people for the job. Not that those people that they picked for the jobs were bad, but there were better people.
It's the thing that we've been talking about with Gamergate, and as the SJW thing has kind of exploded into like ongoing topics and discussions and arguments. Where do you draw the line? He makes 50% of his cabinet women, even though this is the argument I put forward, and I've heard it. I think it's a good one. More than half of our voters are women. They voted in 3/4 approximately males into office. Then he decides that half his cabinet is going to be female. So, okay, you have now not reflected the wishes demographically that we're going to go by.
He's reflected his own wishes.
Right.
As a man.
And if he if he happened to have half women, but wasn't, pounding his chest about it's a feminist decision, again, I probably would just take a look at who he had in office on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
But do we proceed now? How many black people do we have? How many Native American people do we have? How many are cisgendered, right? What demographics are we going to reflect? How ridiculous does this become? And then, of course, the next step is them saying, well, this is just, it's not so bad. It's just women. It's not out of hand. Well, who decides that women is the criteria?
Well, it doesn't even matter. Even some of the guys are not the best choices. Like, I mean,
Well, it's
the best part about it is that whenever there's a discussion on my end, like when I go to school and I discuss it, they always kind of bring up, oh, well, the Minister of Transport is an actual astronaut, and the Minister of Health is an actual physician, or she's a physician. So she is a physician. And these are all fine. Like, they seem like they fit rather well with the position. But
right.
these are the core ones that people can remember as shining examples of the good decision making, ignoring for the fact that there are some people who just don't fit. But it is what it is, and I mean, we just gotta, I guess, deal with the fallout like every political.
And how many of these people who've been brought into office, half of them being women? First of all, I don't know why that's not insulting to them. That they oh, that's my merit. Well, really? Because I don't think that was the criteria the Prime Minister laid out when he said why you were in. But also,
it was your hooters, honey. It was them tete. He's a young man. He's a young virile man. That's what it's all about. He views himself as Vulcan, leading his horde of Valkyries into the Canadian political scene, into the snowy wastelands. That's how he sees himself. And it might also be his own political cowardice, because he just wants to surround himself with people who are going to agree with him and that he can browbeat in an argument.
Well,
Perhaps it's as bad as that.
There were signs of problems already a few years ago when he first got the leadership of the party. Where now, personally, I don't want the government telling people whether they can get abortions or not. I'm not a pro-lifer. However, he decided that anyone who wanted to run for one of their positions, like run for office for a liberal, they had to openly be pro-choice. Now, that's taking it further than any leader I've ever seen take it, where it's like right on the table, either you take this position or you can't run.
Toe the line or get out.
Yeah. So we're going to have a bad fucking 4 years with this guy. We were already having a bad time with feminists.
What was his mother's name? What was his mother? She was this junky socialite, wasn't she?
Yes,
like,
she was a classy lady. She decided to fuck Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, and everyone knew about it while she was still married to the Prime Minister, and he was in office.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You see, so he. Yeah. So what he's looking for is an alternative to that, a real, proper, strong political woman. He's looking for his mother in the cabinet of the Canadian Parliament. And, that's great for him, I should imagine. He can have wonderful fun doing that insanity, but I don't know if that's very good for Canada.
Margaret Trudeau was her name.
Margaret Trudeau, yeah. Mad Maggie Trudeau, yeah. That's what the papers called her, I think.
Well, to be fair, her husband was asking for it, so.
Was he? Yeah. Well, he invited the Rolling Stones to Canada, didn't he? So I mean, yeah.
I just want to do a little blame the victim. I wanted to get that in there. I've heard some. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say he's the cuck kinder, isn't he? Really, he's the child of cuckery. Yeah, if you look at him, he doesn't look like that old Trudeau guy, does he? He looks like one of those Rolling Stones. That's what's happened. Yeah. Good luck, Canada.
I would love to hear the equivalent, because with Trudeau, he was seen as really cool. He was seen as really cool, so a lot of people say, well, maybe he didn't have a problem with her messing around with the Rolling Stones. I would love to see the reverse situation where a female prime minister.
Yeah.
The husband is like banging some hot chicks from a rock group, and the feminists are like, "I'm sure she was cool with it. Let's just assume that."
Yeah.
I don't even really have a response for that because they'll just point out things like Lewinsky and other bigwigs and world leaders who have had mistresses on the
Yeah.
side.
I was going to say decades of French politicians.
Well,
You
okay,
know.
but maybe the position that we can understand that at least stop complaining about, because it's not like women don't cheat too, very
Yeah.
to a. Okay, let's be honest. Trudeau was an ugly
Bony.
man, and she was a hot chick, so she
Yeah.
did not marry him for his physical beauty.
No, she married him for his alpha jewelry. I think his shekel abilities.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you never see him and go,
The-
that man should be on money. You just don't think that.
Have you guys seen the show Lucifer?
Sorry, what's that?
I said, have you guys seen the show Lucifer?
No.
No, I haven't.
It's a new TV show. It's actually, it's really, really good. It's a new spin on the devil, right? So he leaves hell, and an archangel comes down and says, look, you need to go back to hell. Leave Earth now, go back to hell. This is Father's orders. And he goes, how about hell no? And this woman that he likes dies, right? She's murdered. And he's pissed because he just consoled her. He just said, look, you can get your life back on track. You made a deal with the devil. All I did was introduce you to a guy. You didn't sell your soul to me. You can turn your life around. This is all on you. You can do it, right? He had a vested emotional interest in this.
Yes.
And then she's murdered, right? So he's investigating the murder. And he walks into a church during his investigation, and what he can do is he can make you tell the truth about your sins. And he gets the bride to admit she's not marrying him because she's in love or because of his looks.
Yeah. Now we've definitely strayed away from Trudeau. Sorry,
like
carry on.
show,
Carry on, Karn. You were getting to your
No,
denouement.
that was it. That's kind of like the same thing, right? Because she's not marrying him because he's an attractive guy. I think
Absolutely
she
not.
wasn't even marrying him because she loves him. She's marrying him for alternative reasons.
Mm.
And
I
this
mean,
sounds
some
like-
of it, women do compartmentalize, and they will find men attractive because they're powerful, because they're rich, because it's the ultimate status symbol and that kind of thing. But it is quite narcissistic, isn't it? I mean, that can't be argued.
Well, I think when it comes to men and women, I think, like, for women, it seems to be largely about fame, right? Like, this really popular guy shagged me, right? Like, I got to have sex with this, like, because Karen Strong keeps saying it on her channel all the time. She's like, this guy's the ugliest fucker, but he's a rock and roller, and he's extremely famous, and he's, Keith Richards, I think she says, and he goes, he's never had a problem. He looks horrible, but he never has a problem getting laid. And I think it was Dragonbeard who said, it's easier to get laid if you are Steve Buscemi rather than if you look like Steve Buscemi.
Oh, yeah.
Probably did. Could make sense.
And that's a fine quote. Anyone who wants to remember me when I'm dead for that quote that's a good one.
It could have been someone else. Actually, it could have been someone on the Honey Badgers League. I listen to so many shows while I'm doing all other stuff. I easily get mixed up.
Oh, me too. It's my favourite hobby. Just podcasts. And we're so blessed these days with podcasts.
But,
I mean...
So, in England there, you guys have a story.
The ferries?
There's...
Was it like these anarchists went over to France and they got all the migrants to storm the Spirit of Britain, one of our car ferries that comes over, and one of the passenger ferries that shuttles back and forth. Yeah, they've boarded this ferry and stole it. I mean, I don't think they've set to sea to try and storm into an English port as yet. Certainly wouldn't be allowed to do that because, like, there's no fucking way they're going to know how to park a ferry of that size. So there's just no fucking way we're letting it near our ports. Fuck off. Would rather sink it. But we won't sink it. But like they've boarded this ferry. I don't know if there's a standoff or anything. There's a bit of a news hush about it, but it's happened. No. What did you want to know about?
Well, that is an interesting story. I'm surprised I didn't hear about it. The one I was thinking of is that one of the courts in England have ordered that a man has to give 24-hour notice.
Oh, 24 notice before he had sex. Yeah, he got accused, hadn't he, of a sexual offence or a rape or something. He'd gone to court, it had been acquitted, and they said he'd not. But the police wanted him to check in with them 24 hours in advance every time he wanted to perform an act of coitus. And V. Monroe today, I think, said more about this than I ever could in his video on the subject. And I'd refer people to that when they finish watching him do Twiz today. Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's absolutely impossible for somebody to do that. I mean, I'm sure the police have better things to do than to answer the phone call to people saying, "I'm going to have sex later today." I mean,
that's how you should treat this, though. That's how you make fun of them for being so stupid. You call and say, "Hey, I plan to get laid today, man. I plan to get laid. I'm just letting you know." Like every hour you say, "I plan to get laid."
Hello, you police. Press 1 if there's a crime being committed. Press 2 if you're planning on having sex today. Press 3.
Two.
Then randomly on Wednesday.
Hello, officer. You have 24 hours, then I'm having the sex. Prepare yourself.
So on some random Wednesday, you call up and say, "I'm not planning to have sex today, but I am planning on masturbating. So if I charge myself with sexual assault later, it's bogus."
Or if you're just having a wank, you only have to ring up the council office. Just tell them.
Just send an email.
If you're out there listening now, just ring up your council, your state authorities, and just let them know.
That was the best question I got when I posted the article on Facebook was, does it count? Do you have to do it when you're going to masturbate? And I said, well, it depends which hand.
Wow.
True.
If it's your regular hand, obviously not.
Yeah.
But if it's your other hand, then you better.
And ambidextrous.
Well, then you got to call in either way.
I should have brought that.
I'm polyamorous with my masturbation.
Normal speed limits apply. 55 miles per hour, please. Or 60 if you're in England. 60 to 75 you're allowed.
After you called in when you were gonna have sex, we had an officer with a radar gun.
Yeah. Just pass one window and like. It's
the mystery.
He had a ladder.
The cops are calling the woman. The cops are calling the woman, being like, "Wait until 12:01. Wait until 12:01. Bust them. Come on. Don't fuck him before midnight."
Yeah. And this guy has to. He's not the only one this has happened to, but he's got to include the woman's name, her personal information, all this stuff. It goes into a file.
Oh.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I quoted 1984, obviously, about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is effectively banning him from any sexual relations, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's no way he could do this.
I'd say it's government overreach, but maybe it's government reach around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they're like,
this is the politically correct show. What was that, Karn?
You fucking whores.
last year there was a police officer who jerked off into a cup at work and then threw it on a girl he liked just as she was getting onto the elevator.
Yes.
Because they had like a friendly relationship, and I guess he was trying to like knock it up a notch, and he wasn't knocking it after that happened because she got him with he got arrested for sexual assault and everything else.
No shit.
Like, who gets in an elevator and expects a friend to throw jizz on them, right?
Yeah. Like, that's hardly a sign of affection, is it?
I'll put the new. I'll send it so you can put.
You know, if that happened to Rebecca Watson, everything that followed that whole debacle for the would have made
Oh
sense.
my, yeah. Yeah, it would.
A friend in need. A friend in need.
Do you want coffee? Sorry, it's jizz. Yeah, with seed.
A friend
Oh
in
my.
need is a friend with seed.
You want some tea with a bag of cream?
Oh. Do you remember those old UHT milk cartons that you used to get in garages and shit like that? Like you'd pull them and you'd be squeezing them, and they were so weak to splurt, wasn't they? Horrible. That was just flashing through my mind then when you'd like, oh. Whoa. Anyway, shall we move on? Next topic. Whoa.
Well, I just thought we should include a little bit about the unpleasant news articles in other countries besides our own. So, Karn, what are the unpleasant ones going on in the United States?
Let's see. Well, there's the story about all them girls at that school that were wearing those T-shirts. Yeah, it's spelled nigger.
It's spelled the word that must not be spoken.
Yeah, nigger.
What happened with
that word? I'll tell you what. Do you want to have a look? I've got a picture here of them with just all their faces unblurred. Start screen share. This is them. Look, they're all having a wonderful time. They're in their shirts. They're all very, very white. Oh, they're so white. That's the horror of it. You know how ruined these poor girls are going to be. Like they'll never. They can dye their hair and change their looks, can't they? They can probably pretend to be other people. But like, no. If you look at the bottom one, they've all got letters, haven't they? And it doesn't particularly spell nigger until they all get together. So you can't really say they've gone out of their way to do this. You know, they haven't. I mean, look at them all on the bottom. There's everything there. They're like a typewriter.
See, the girl for the K was supposed to be there. Was supposed to be knitter.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be knickers. Knicker.
It says best you ever seen class of 2C something. Yeah, so that's what they're trying to spell out. Class of 2000, yeah. That's what they're spelling out. And unfortunately, what it's come out, and somebody's pushed them together and said, hey, you kids, why don't we take a really funny photo? And they're fucked, and they've done nothing except saying, oh, yeah, all right then. Haha. Yeah, it'll be crazy. It'll be a laugh, won't it? And, of course, it hasn't been a laugh, has it? It's been fucking gone viral and shite.
If I were going to sit in with some people at their reprimand, if there's a public reprimand, I would place bets on the first defense line being, but we have friends who are black.
Yes. Yeah.
My best friends.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah. It'd be different if the person who took the photo was black. That would change. That would be a game changer. Like, okay, our friend got us together and wanted, like, then it'd be a little bit different. It's still racist, but it'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm looking at that girl in the middle, yeah, the one to the left with the star on, the blonde one who's grinning away with her mouth open. Yeah, I'm reckoning her first line of defense is, but my children are black. She loses the type, doesn't she?
The older one, her pants are way too high there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why I went there, because she wears her pants like a black girl. Yeah.
Wow.
She does. She doesn't care about that. She wants to show her butt off. She don't care. You see what I mean?
See, with
like she's having the wild hell of a time. She's the white black girl in that group. Isn't she? The rest of them are all demure. Sorry, Karen.
The stereotype is supposed to be that those are supposed to all be white men making inappropriate jokes. So now, what are we going to do? Will it be the race issue or the female issue? Which one takes precedence here?
Females can't be sexist or racist.
That's right, because they don't have power. They don't have any power.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Who's the actress? Who's the actress who just came out recently because of that whole Oscars so white shit? And she said that blacks have it easier than women. Being black is easier than being a woman.
If someone said this at the Oscars or what the Oscars?
No. It was kind of all bundled together in this whole
diatribe.
Oh, it'll have been some feminist, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look her name up right now. But
yeah,
I love how a feminist online actually tried to tell me that feminism also fights for black women and blah blah blah. I said, oh, you mean like back in the 1920s when black men got the right to vote? They said it was an atrocity to white women.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're not supposed to quote that stuff from the feminists back then.
Oh, that's right.
Are we not?
They're heroes.
MC squared is against.
They didn't like black people, though, did they?
They were just against feminine. They said it's sexist against women. E equals MC squared is sexist against women. That needs to be repeated because of how stupid that is.
One of my pet peeves is, like, I know we all have limitations on our time, but I don't like it when I say to someone, look, you know, I'm arguing with your conclusion on an issue that you need to spend a lot more time on because you don't know what you're talking about. And I've spent hours upon hours upon hours listening to different perspectives and hearing from different sources on this issue. And their reply is, no, you're wrong. Feminism, anything to do with its history, tends to be one of those topics. They were all saints. They were all saints. They were all just good people. They weren't racist. They weren't bigots. They were not... you know, the originals, they weren't from an upper class looking down on the plebs.
Yeah. Well, it goes one step further. Like I get accused of being grumpy and short-tempered a lot, and about these topics, about a lot of topics, but about these topics, and I'm like, well, it's like this. Of course, I'm being grumpy because I'm ramming my head into a brick wall, and you just don't.
Yeah.
I'm getting mad because I'm presenting you with evidence and I know what I'm talking about. It's not like I'm grossly ignorant on the subject matter. And yet you just sit there and go, oh, really? Are you sure you know what you're talking about? Because it kind of sounds like you don't. And then, of course, if I get in any way insulted by that, then I'm the one that's wrong.
The main rule socially is non-confrontational. People don't want to be confrontational. It's like, well, then you're going to be wrong a lot.
Yep.
That's just the way it's going to be.
And the actress's name was Julie Delpy, D-L-P-Y, sharing her views on the Oscar So White controversy.
Julie Derpy. Yeah, Derpy Julie. Derpy Julie. That's what they call her in the Oscars, yeah. Like, they make her take around the ice cream tray during the ceremony and that. She talks, she always talks, that's why they don't pay. That's why she never gets any awards. You know, she's just yak, yak, yak. Everyone's like, oh, Julie Delpy, man.
Yeah,
shut up and give me an ice cream.
Ice Cube, I think, had a really good response for that when he was asked about the Oscars. Yeah. He just said that complaining about not getting an award is like complaining you don't have enough icing on your cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good response.
That's just so damn honest, isn't it? And very, very street level, very based, as we would say in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, you're getting all this shit and you're still moaning, motherfuck you. Yeah, I can see where it's
was that the same actress who said that? Yeah, what was the quote from her? She said it was being a woman in Hollywood was the worst thing a woman could have to deal with. I forget who it was, but this is like an actress.
Right.
Yeah, I would hate to have to deal with being a woman in Hollywood. It would be gay.
Here we go.
Especially for you.
Here's my.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it at all. I'm not wearing that fucking dress, mate. What the fuck? No, fuck off. No, he's not kissing me. No, get away. I don't care if he is fucking Sean Penn, Johnny Depp or whatever.
That's perfect. So what other controversies come up this week?
Oh, I don't know. Wine's getting more expensive in my country. I'm shocked.
Oh my goodness. In your country, do you have any kind of government regulation on how they sell it?
Yeah, you can't sell it in a bucket anymore. It's annoying for me.
You sell it in a box?
Boxes, yeah, you can have a box, and it just, where's the warmth? Where's the humanity in a box? You know?
Waiter, you brought me this really old wine. I asked you for the good stuff. Bring me something made this year.
Yeah, I wanted round wine, not square wine. Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, that really is pointless. I won't carry on there.
Here's
See, when you said earlier about the ferry, I'm like, the fairies are coming over. I'm like, is he talking about gay people, or is this some story about flying little, bug type things?
Yes. No, I meant car ferries. Yeah, ships full of cars and lorries and that kind of thing. Because that's what our ferries are all about, really. Fuck people going on holiday and that kind of shit. Like, if they were important people, they could fly. The point of that is to get all this cargo and all these lorries back and forth from France and Europe and that whole thing. It's our spice road, mini spice road across the channel, like our Channel Tunnel. This is so important to the UK. So when like these anarchists, and I'm not even blaming the refugees here, when these anarchists have a go at our national interests, important national interests like the ferries and the Channel Tunnel, I'm very worried, very concerned, and very angry about it. And I think our leaders should have every reason to feel the same.
Yeah, this is an ongoing thing in many different areas, is how much I find people are just completely, they take their own important issues for granted, things that will affect them.
Mm.
Here's another controversy. It was on Twitter. Shut up, Wesley.
Mm. Mm.
Did you see that quote from Picard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shut up, Will.
Shut up, Will. Yes. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's the best lesson an old actor can teach a young actor. Never argue with your audience. If they doing this thing to you, this shut up Wesley thing, it's making you famous, man. It's money in the bank. You should love that. Never be ungrateful to them. Oh my.
I didn't mind him in Star Trek, but I couldn't stand him outside. Like, I didn't like him in Eureka. I don't like him on The Big Bang Theory. Although there was that one episode where he walks into the Star Wars wearing the Star Trek uniform. I didn't like Will Wheaton in I didn't like Wesley Crusher in Star Wars, rather. I didn't like him at all. His face was so shiny and unnatural. He looked more like Mr. Odo than Mr. Odo does, and I found that alarming. He was full in Uncanny Valley. But when I saw him later on in the Guild playing that character when he had a beard, then I really warmed to him, and I liked him, and I realised, it was Will, that was Wesley Crusher from the old days, and I thought, this is him now. I thought, oh, well, hasn't he grown into a lovely young man, and that kind of thing. Now, further along the line with social justice, yeah. Sorry, carry on, Kurt. It was great in Stand By Me. I didn't even know that was him. Like, the acting in that movie by everyone was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I won't knock him on his acting skills. Do you want to hear a dirty story about Will Wheaton?
Sure.
And this is true. I've got people who eyewitnesses at the time who told me this on a podcast that it was true, and I've even got the podcast still on my channel that I often pimp around when I talk about this anecdote. But anyhow,
Go ahead.
some friends of mine, they were at a Renaissance fair one year. You roughly know what a Renaissance fair is. They all dress up as medieval people, and some people do jousting, some people do LARPing, lots of stuff goes on. But what also goes on is an awful lot of free love and polyamory. And that's all cool. They've all had a drink. You're young people, they're all being careful. It's all good. So Will Wheaton was there. And he got really drunk on all the craft beers that he likes and that were freely available at Renaissance fairs. All of them far too strong for him to really handle it in en masse and with a day walking around in the sunshine. Yeah, so he was there, and as the day wore on, he was, he'd had a bit of love for the fact that he used to be Wesley Crusher, and so he reminded himself that he was a star, and he'd been drinking a lot. And so things were going on later, and he saw people slipping off with each other into tents, and like all these lovely medieval tents with flags and shit on, all dressed up and that, and having the sex. And like all sorts of people having the sex all around and that kind of thing. So he started coming on to people and that, and partly because he was so drunk, and partly because he was Will Wheaton, and mainly because he was being drunk and obnoxious. Nobody really wanted anything to do with him because it could all get a bit heavy, a bit serious, you know. Fuck it. It's somebody who's known and that kind of thing, and he's here being an arse. Of course, I don't want to sleep with him. That'd be really kind of creepy. So that, I think, is what he was getting. So he got more drunk. He got more upset about that, and I think somebody gave him a spliff or something like that. He got more upset he was getting nowhere. So at the end, he was kind of saying, well, if nobody's going to have sex with me, I'm going to go and have sex with this tree. And he went over to this tree, dropped its bits and pieces, and started gyrating and rubbing himself against this tree. And that happened, and people were like walking past and wandering around and going, "Oh, Jesus Christ, Will, fuck off! Jesus, no." And so that's my anecdote. Yeah.
Where was Patrick Stewart when they needed him?
Where was beam me aboard now. Beam Mr. Crusher aboard. Stop him immediately. This has gone too far.
Well,
who permitted this?
Get off that tree, Will, right now.
No members of this crew are allowed to engage in the planetary beverages anymore. All crew members to return from away leave.
See, that's what it is. He was used to synthahol.
Right.
He used to synthahol, yeah. And the real beer is just fucked, and he went all like, he saw all this crazy sex that he'd never seen in the Federation because they don't have sex.
I would have guessed that story, something like that would have been
all the time.
would have been something more for Brent Spiner. Like Brent Spiner always seemed to have that kind of personality, but I've never heard any embarrassing stories about him. It's a little disappointing almost.
No, well, I suppose Brent Spiner probably grew up without advantages. Firstly, he's called Brent Spiner.
Yeah.
You know, going through school.
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
I'm Brent Spiner. I can make weird faces and strange voices.
Yeah. I look unusual. I'm a child. And I'm called Brent Spiner. And so, you know, he would have learned. He would have had to have toughened up a bit with that kind of thing. Will Wheaton, cool name. Yeah, he does acting stuff. We got cool parents that let him smoke marijuana. He's going to have a doddle at school and that kind of thing. But later on, of course, he's going to be... Yeah, later on, he ends up, like, in crap television and that kind of shit. Yeah. You know, Hollywood brat. Hollywood brat.
What was it? Don McLean. He got arrested for domestic violence recently.
Don McLean?
Yeah.
Bye, Miss American Pie. That guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He got arrested recently for domestic violence. I'm still curious about the facts in that case.
Yeah, he took a shovel to her head and then he told her goodbye.
Really?
Sorry. But, no, it's awful. I reckon it was... probably just a kind of mad incident that happens, but in this day and light, in this and age, he's going to get nicked for it. You know, he probably had a little bit too much to drink, argued with his missus, it went too far, and she phoned the cops, and they just came away and said, right, we always nick people in this situation. We always nick the man in this situation. Get in the back of the van. We don't care who you are. In fact, we're really pleased you're famous. So... Yeah. Yeah, but it is sad, isn't it?
It is sad, especially because he had such a rich career with he's contributed a lot to music, and I mean it's kind of hard because I know that he's one of my favorite musicians of his era. I kind of grew up listening to a lot of his music, but that doesn't excuse what he did if that's what he did. He's 70 years old though, which again that doesn't excuse it either, but.
Well, it kind of does. It kind of does if you're going a bit dotty. It really does. I mean, when people pre-symptoms of dementia and Alzheimer's, they're really violent and they don't know what they're doing. They're scared more than anything, and you cannot really blame them for it because their brains are deteriorating. I mean, that's probably what's happening. I feel in this situation. He's old. I don't know.
On the practice, they had a really good episode of this where the guy killed his wife, right? Because he thought he was being attacked and his wife was trying to help him. He was killing her. And then he's like, goes through the trial that he has dementia, that he didn't realize what was going on, he didn't realize who she was, and then, you know, after he wins, he goes, so where's my wife?
Yeah.
He wants to know where she is, because he's expecting her to show up at any moment to help him do his cause. He goes,
yeah.
And they just look at him like, you killed her, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's
and then
how
they say,
he was,
and then they say, and now you need to go back to the set and play Captain Picard again.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
This is different.
Hey, Karn, is there any way your mic's really quiet? Is there any way you can turn it up or get closer to it?
It's right by my mouth. I don't know how many, unless I start eating.
Maybe it's doing the wrong source again because it's really quiet. Okay. Well, on another topic, Australia.
Yes.
Australia.
Okay.
It's louder, yeah. It's got a little bit of.
Whoa.
It's got a little bit of a staticky sound to it, but I can hear you now. Like it's like a fan I can hear in the background or something like that.
Are you in a UFO? Yeah, he's in his UFO now. Jesus Christ.
How about now?
That's good.
Hello, God. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, maybe your volume. Okay, speak again.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
That's better. I had you cranked up, so now I turned it down. So
Yeah, I changed back to the mic on the webcam, and I moved the webcam onto this giant box of cotton swabs.
Ah, there you go. That's why you turned into a pea.
It was on the computer, which is the fan that you're hearing.
Yeah, now he's gigantic.
Welcome to
He went
now Love Stream. 45 minutes in, technical difficulties.
If your ears are bleeding, that's all a part of the experience, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
You said the name of the person who was in the story, and until you said American Pie, I don't know why, but for some reason I went, is that the guy from the Highlander series? There can only be one.
Oh gosh, what was his name?
No, that's Sean McConnery, isn't it? It was Sean Connery, rather.
The Spaniard, which is hilarious that they would make Sean Connery a Spaniard. Like,
oh, the actual
Clearly
character, don't? Yeah.
Clearly, I am a Spaniard.
Come over here, little boy, and shit in my lap.
Well, it's no funnier than Picard, right? Right. No, clearly a Frenchman.
Agreed.
Make it so.
Make it so.
He did a French accent as well as the Monty Python.
I thought it was. I still think like the greatest role I think I've ever seen him play is Lady Jane.
Lady Jane.
Lady, the 9-Day Queen.
The what queen?
The 9-Day. This is from your country. The 9-Day Queen.
I've never fucking heard of this. Oh.
Yeah, look up the movie Lady Jane. He plays this guy who's the father of the 9-Day Queen, right? And at first he's this tyrant. He's this abusive asshole father figure. His daughter's 14 years old. You know, he's whipping his child for not listening to him, right? No, I'm not going to explain. In the end, he totally turns it around, and he's phenomenal. Because if I say I'm
he
going
lashes everybody's children. Yes, whip them all into line. Let's get good old Victorian values going. That's what's going to make America great again, and the rest of the West. So no, I've not seen that. Lady Jane.
Lady Jane.
Yeah, for a while I thought. Yeah, I thought that was going to be some tranny role by him or something.
No.
Because I thought he would have loved that. I can see him.
Mary Queen of Scott had her killed.
Right.
When she went in. So.
Oh. Right, Jane Usher.
She was her cousin. And Jane was supposed to.
Right.
Well, this all happened because the king died, which was her cousin, right?
Yeah.
And then it was supposed to go. He like changed his will on his deathbed, and it went to Lady Jane, and then the Lady Queen of Scots. She came on down with her army and took everything over, I guess, or something along those lines. The movie's kind of big on it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so 9 days into her queenery, you know, they split.
And this is the role that Sean Connery is coming out of retirement to play, Lady Jane.
No, this was Patrick Stewart's one of his best roles ever, right? Because
he played Lady Jane.
No, he played her father.
Yeah, he did. No, yeah, but like they were the same person.
Yeah.
That was the rub at the end of the film, you know.
Yeah, same person.
That was the thing. They were the same person. He just changed his clothes around and he fell in love with the hero and totally wooed the Empire out of attacking his country. It was genius, you know. It was genius. It's so fitting. It's so fitting in 2016 as well. You know, we should remake it. Everyone wants to see that. Yeah. We could have black people in it though, but with black people in, obviously, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to be racially sensitive to, you know. We can't let history get in the way of facts.
Yeah, we want black trans Scots women fighting the Battle of Bannockburn. Ideally.
Well, that and all the people who died to keep China British.
Yes, yeah, that would make them Turks, or Syrians. Syrians is good. Yes. Why shouldn't Henry VIII be called Muhammad VIII? Because you know he could have been. He could have been a more sort of. Perhaps.
Well, that's who died, King Henry VIII.
Yeah, King Henry VIII. Oh, I'm Henry VIII. Oh, yeah. He probably was black. Because there are many people in Africa who are slightly red-haired and have blue eyes, apparently.
Here, I wanna. How do I share my screen?
By being,
There should be an option.
The green button
side,
up on the left. There's a green button with a little arrow on it. Press
All
that.
right. You see this?
Yeah, and oh no, I can't. You have to talk while you look.
All right. La da 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 da. There's Lady Jane.
Oh no, I'm seeing you, not the picture.
No, you've got to present the screen rather than present the Google thing, because
cool.
otherwise you get the infinite window of doom, which will eventually make your computer crash.
You want to click on the there should be a series of different things you can click on there for what you want to present.
It's too late. He's in another part of time. He's in
No, I already canceled
Oh! Yeah. That's what happens when he talks back from like 20 realities all at once.
Well, somebody on Facebook this week said that they need to have more Muslims in the new Star Wars movies. So I made this.
Jedi.
I made this picture here in response.
Yeah, I've had a good long think about why that shouldn't happen. Well, yeah, of course I've done that, but I've had a good long think about why that shouldn't happen from a Muslim perspective, from a Muslim point of view, going back to their own theology and their own system of beliefs.
Yeah.
And my real problem with the idea of adding a Muslim character to the Star Wars canon and universe, is one of shirk in terms of Islamic faith. There's a sin whereby if you misrepresent what the Quran is, what Islam is, what the faith is, even if you're doing it for sort of good reasons, it's a bad thing. You can say Islam isn't this, Islam isn't that. You can do that kind of thing. But you cannot go around saying, oh, Islam is like this as well. It's just like this. Saying Islam is like Buddhism, you can't do that. That's shirk. That's polluting the religion. That's heresy. And they're really, really hot on that. That's kind of worse than adultery. That's sort of worse than apostasy. That's a big crime in Islam. So, what I'm saying, with that in mind, what I'm saying is when you a Muslim character into a fictional world that already has a very firm theology based around good and evil, but then based around these midichlorians that are tiny little creatures running around in everybody's blood.
I don't know why they didn't mention the midichlorians in the new movie. I don't know.
Because they're trying to forget about it.
Where was Jar Jar? I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Is he a midichlorian? Is he an overgrown midichlorian? I can see that. Yeah. My God, never let them get big. He is the oldest and wisest of the midichlorians. That's why there's so much shit in the universe. It's just fucking, they're all mad. Oh. But no, what I'm saying is, like, if you then add Islam into all this metaphysical mumbo-jumbo, fantasy, fictional religion, you're kind of committing shirk because you're blurring the faith of Islam, which is true, according to itself, with something that is, to everyone's eyes, fictional and rubbish and a load of poo-poo. To do that, to willingly do that, and for Muslims to will for that to happen, is to commit the sin of shirk. And I would caution Muslims not to do it, or to think very hard before they call for things like that. For their own sake.
What's it called, a shirk?
Sorry.
What's it called, a shirk?
Well, it's a sin called shirk, where that's his Arabic name, and it's where you pervert the faith, essentially. It's like making. If you start making up Islam and saying, "Oh, this is Islam's like that," and you make it up, and it's not what's in the Quran, it's not what's taught by Islam, then that's shirk, and it's worse than apostasy because you're perverting every convert. You know, you're perverting the whole religion.
You're starting an offshoot for all people that could come into the faith. I guess it'd be that perspective, right?
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, it's heresy.
Was Muslim himself. I think he was just doing it as a way of trying to promote some sort of inclusive diversity.
Yeah.
An
ignoramus. That's what we like to call them.
Yeah. Which
He
makes him guilty of. Yeah, which makes him guilty of cultural appropriation by his own standards. He's appropriated something he's proven he doesn't understand. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come out with such a preposterous idea if he understood Islam, even as somebody who dislikes Islam understands it. If he had that much knowledge of it, right, he wouldn't have said that in the first place. So he's proved he's the kind of person that will say fuck you to somebody's culture. If I can use you in an argument, I'll use you in an argument. He has shown no respect to Islam by suggesting this in his open letter to J.J. Abrams, which is intimidating a Jew.
Before I can judge the merit of his article, I need to know on a list of points his skin color, the language he speaks, what kind of genitalia he has, how high, what his height is, his weight, whether he has a mommy and daddy.
Right, you're measuring his privilege before
That's right.
you can.
You're planning? No, he's planning to fuck him. That's what he's doing.
Mr. Dragonbeard.
But first,
none of those questions matter.
I need to call the police 24 hours in advance before I do.
Yes.
What's that, Karn?
It doesn't. None of those questions matter. What matters is how many times he's masturbated, because when he gets to heaven, his hand will be that many pregnant.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing in Islam, isn't it? Yeah, your head will get pregnant if you masturbate a lot. Apparently.
Oh man.
In
Only
heaven.
according to that one guy, and even other Muslims were like, "Dude, you're stupid."
Yeah. Damn it! Why did you ruin that? People, Muslims listen to this. It's all right for us to commit shirk. We're not Muslims. No. You're a useless activist. Oh, fuck.
Oh, my goodness.
I try so hard.
Coming up on February 1st, so probably February 2nd or 3rd, we should have a video of Lacey Green. She's coming to my school to give a talk on best sex ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was with herself.
Oh.
She's coming to your school.
Yep.
She's coming to you. So you're going to be there in the gymnasium when she has the best sex ever.
I was
Excellent.
planning on watching.
Watching, you're filming.
I know, yeah.
Right, dude. No, you need to live stream. Oh my God. You're going to be there.
You gotta wear something funny, though.
No, yeah. Rubber. leather, something like that.
I'm not saying anything. I'm
Who
just gonna
likes
say
that?
I want to graduate.
Walk
Yeah,
in,
no
walk in dressed up as a condom with three eyes for the eyes and the mouth, right? And just sit down and look at Lacey Green. Like, make sure you're in the front row. Lacey
She
Green,
likes-
you know, raise your hands.
She likes muscly men. She likes big, buff, muscly men. So, you know, go looking sporty. She'd go for that, yeah.
I don't think I'm
You
going to be able to pull off that look.
Well, you know, oh, well, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't do that. I look like a rake. But, I mean, you know, I could work out for, like, 5 or 6 years and I'd still look like a buff rake. But,
I'm thick enough that people shouldn't fat shame me. So.
No, what you should do is, here's an idea. Get a really big, like, heavy suit, right? Like they had in, like, the Nutty Professor or something, and then wear a giant shirt that says, Beachbody Ready is sexist against me, right? And have, like, a really fake, horrible wig on. And take up, like, 8 rows.
Yeah. It was actually funny when I posted that on one of the Facebook groups I was on. Somebody who apparently was Sargon said, you know, film it. So I figured, why not? I'll film it. I'll post it up. See if he takes it.
If it was my group, it probably was Sargon. Was it someone called Cole?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Sargon.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get the day off work, bring a couple video cameras, and we'll tape it and chop it into little bitties.
I sent him a message to try and find out where he wanted me to send the video because I'm not very tech savvy. That's why I have Dragonbeard do all this work, but he didn't answer me, so I figured he's busy.
And I kept saying, I'm not
I'll be back in a
Sargon of
tick.
Akkad. And he just didn't seem to understand. It's the beard that confuses people.
Well, anyways, I know he's going to get a drink, but I would love to have said goodbye, but I gotta go. My usual Sunday afternoon activities, you know, gotta get my children cleaning their room.
Well, good luck with that impossible task.
All right, see you later, Karn.
Yo, have a good one.
Can I say goodbye?
Yeah, I'll tell you say goodbye.
Have a good one.
Ciao. Drive safe and such.
Just don't get your hand pregnant.
Don't get your hand pregnant. All right, hold on a second. Alrighty, can you hear me?
I can now.
All right. Move seats because I choose to. So on and so forth. Everyone gets to see from what I've been told is from here up, I look like I'm in good shape. But as soon as I go like this, then we get to see.
Spare tire.
Well, in my defense, I'm a truck driver, so it's handy to have a spare tire on hand. So, Karn, did you hear anything about? Let me just slide that around here. Did you hear anything about a guy named Jeff Allen being banned from Australia? Did you hear about that?
No, but it sounds really, really familiar. There was a guy who said that acid reflux can be caused by a bacterium, and he was thrown out of the country for over 20 years until another French scientist decided, I have the same conclusion. This sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, in some ways, I've gotten to know Australia through a few people I know online now, like Robert Darby, Adam Kochi, Simon Wright. There's a number of them that getting to know Australia through knowing them has given me a better appreciation for the nice stuff about it, like the good things. But every now and then there's a story from Australia, and I really don't understand how they've there's always a little bit of a difference in democracies as to how we set up our legal system. And in this one, I've tried discussing, this guy's okay. First of all, let's just say this Jeff Allen. He's a pickup artist. I'm not involved in the pickup artist scene. Not interested in it.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah, he was on Honey Badgers a minute ago.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I think it's the same guy. He's the one who wrote the book, right? He couldn't get laid in, like, Denmark or something.
Well, whatever the case is, I'm glad they had him on there because this is a form of censorship, and this is what I started moving away from a lot of the tighter circles that I was in with skeptics that were liberal in nature, because I foresaw a time when we'd be fighting a lot more. So I kind of eased up on the tightness. I moved back a little bit to prevent that. And sure enough, this area, these people who don't like what he has to say will pick up women. They call him a rapist. Never been convicted of rape. They say he encourages rape. As far as I know, completely untrue, right?
Yeah.
And so they're happy he's been banned, but they know nothing about him other than they don't like him. And this is a way of silencing a person. And the only thing that they have to defend their position is they say, well, Australia has the right to ban anyone they want. And I said, any fascist government can use the same argumentation for righteousness, right? That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. If you don't like what he has to say something, compete with him. Say why you don't like it. Try to raise awareness as to your perspective.
I would say if that's the case, if they banned him for nothing more than they don't like him, then what they've proven is Australia is the biggest pussy country on the planet.
I don't know.
Because I'm sorry, but if you don't like the fact that a guy gets laid and a woman is willing to have sex with him, right? And his whole point is just having sex with women, and that's his thing. If you have a problem with that so much that you need to ban him, you're a giant fucking pussy as a country.
Well, but see, the problem is that he's been demonized, and then that's been circulated, and these people are just trusting the reports they're getting that he's this evil rapist.
Which again goes back to my point.
So, well, what I conceded was if he had a criminal record or was connected to a criminal organization, like a known criminal organization, then a government has action to say we're not going to let you in.
Not when it's Australia. That's how they got their population in the first place.
I was very clear about this. I said I'm arguing about principles of liberty. I am not arguing about the particulars of your law. And in their defense, Canada almost did the same thing to a pickup artist like a year ago. It was a while ago, but it failed. And it's always through these popular petitions, change.org and shit like that. Yeah. I have no use for that site. The mob, they help incite mobs.
Well, I use them all the time. Petitions, and UK.gov and that kind of thing. No, I think activism is activism, and we use the tools we got. And if we use their tools, it's fine. Like we're dicking about with BuzzFeed at the moment, putting our own articles on there and that kind of thing. Fuck it. Fuck it.
Well, let me put it this way. I wouldn't have a problem with it if they would put in some restrictions about specifically and only towards petitions trying to strip other people of basic rights. They should not allow their site to have, for instance, a petition in Saudi Arabia saying that women shouldn't be able to drive. If it goes against the very principles of freedom of expression or anything like that that your site's supposed to stand for, I don't know.
Well, what are they supposed to stand for that though? Maybe they're just supposed to do petitions.
Without freedom of expression.
No, I mean, it's like my site. I really don't interfere too much, and I end up with a lot of stuff I don't want at all. But there you go.
Yeah, let me be clear. I don't want them to become nannies about it. I'm just saying that here's the principle that follows through. Without freedom of expression, the site change.org would not be secure itself because it's a form of expression, right? So by that principle, if they reserve it for themselves, which they must clearly do in operating principle, then they should reserve the same thing for others. If people are starting petitions to get mobs together to try and, force or to target other people's rights of freedom of expression, they're hypocrites.
Yeah, but we can do the same, and we do.
Here's an idea.
But I do. I start petitions and I get people to sign them. I do the same as they do. Yeah, so it's open. It's fine, surely.
But have you targeted other people's freedom of expression? For instance, banning someone from coming to your country, or not allowing them to speak at a university, or the worst.
I never look at my activities that closely. Actually, I'm a bit amoral. Probably. Yeah, I would do that.
The worst that I've seen is that this is an example of the worst I've seen. In Canada, there was a few guys, these are college-age students, I think, or high school students on the East Coast, they were accused of getting this girl drunk and raping her at a party. And they had a police investigation. The province decided not to press charges because there's not only not enough evidence, there was a lot of testimony that was in conflict that clearly indicated the story was not true. Then Change.org got involved. A bunch of people started signing this petition to reopen the case, and then a political leader forced the police to reopen it, and the Crown, which is what we call our attorneys here for the state, to force them to press charges. Now this is I am not comfortable with that at all. I really am not.
I'm not comfortable with that either. You know.
What about Trayvon Martin though? What if it was him?
What's that?
What if it was Trayvon Martin? Remember that case?
Well, that's irrelevant. I'm sorry.
Well, not quite, because it was only because of the public outcry that he was killed, right? That the police were forced to go into, because what's his name?
The verdict hasn't changed, though, has it? The verdict hasn't changed all the way through. He was lawfully killed.
No, but that's because that's because.
And surely that's a great example of why this shouldn't happen. Why prosecutions shouldn't be led by public opinion, because like it causes all this pointless blurb when cases have been solved to all reasonable levels of evidence.
I would have the same problem with a petition on a site like that targeting. Let's say the case had been dropped rather than going through and seeing, let's present our evidence. Let's say just said, you know what, there's nothing here to really indicate that he committed a crime. Let's just drop it. I would have the same problem regardless of the topic or the person of petitions being used in that fashion. Petitions are meant to be the way they've been used in the past before Change.org and such got involved. They were things like, we need a pool put in the local area for the kids. Let's sign this petition and get the government aware that there's a lot of people who want this pool. Right?
Well, no, they have. No, you're doing a disservice to petitions. I mean, before petitions, there was the plebiscite. And these were decisions within countries about what nationality they wanted to be and that kind of thing. And so the petition, the census, the opinion poll has been important to government right since ancient days. I don't think you can say what they should and shouldn't be. I think it's an element of free speech that petitions should happen, good or bad.
Right. But, okay, there's a different terminology. Petitions these days for a long time have not meant the same thing, for instance, as a census or what's the other one? When the public votes on
a plebiscite or something.
What do they call it? When they vote on their independence from a location, it's called a binding... there's a vote that people can have. What's the term now? It's not popping in my head. Referendum. Okay, so there's
referendum.
So a referendum, for instance, is not a petition. A petition is not a referendum. These are two very different things, regardless of where the origins of the words come from. And all I'm saying is
true, but they do stem from the same basic action of political determination.
Right.
Like a whole bunch of people gathering together.
So this kind of comes into the position that I was trying to clarify for a lot of people that were arguing with me on this point, is that there's such a thing as a democracy that's an extreme democracy. Everything that the population wants happens. There's a reason we don't do this anymore. We have constitutions to counterbalance democracy. That's what a constitution is for, is to stop democratic ultimatum. And that's what I'm talking about. The difference between this is that I don't have a problem with the vast majority of petitions that are out there. Really, it's just saying we all agree that you should know we all feel this way. Yes, that's fine. But when you start having it targeted towards government officials, legislators, people who can prosecute, to go after somebody, their basic legal rights, then I have an issue with it. And I also have an issue with these sites pretending that they have no responsibility about it whatsoever.
Yeah. I have an interesting question. What if you said it's change.org? Is that Yeah. What if a whole bunch of people formed a petition to shut down change.org on change.org?
I thought of that. I actually did that. Well, not to shut them down, but to tell them that Change.org was the recipient of the petition, and I had a few hundred people actually sign it, even though I just kind of started it, and then people started passing it around. And I talked to Emery about it when he was on the podcast, and he had not understood that I had meant it tongue-in-cheek, like to point out their hypocrisy.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
That would be like a paradox, because if they have all this influx of people to their site, then it shows that people like and use the site. But if there's a petition to close it down and there's significant signatures.
Yeah. Well, always the difficult thing is that in petitions, it's getting people to sign it. So.
Well, I'm just saying it circulated well on its own with me putting nothing behind it. And it wasn't millions of people, obviously, but just the fact that I made it and just kind of put it in a couple spots, and I had hundreds of people sign it. I am not the only one who has frustrations with this modern idea that petitions make it okay for you to attack other people's rights. I don't know what's wrong with people this way.
Yeah. Well, here's the other problem. Here's the other problem. Okay, you can get people to sign a petition to ban dihydrogen monoxide.
Yeah.
Fuckers will sign anything. There are people like that, man. Like, oh yeah, for the cause, man. Let's change the world, man. And then they just sign whatever.
I remember years back before I was a skeptic and I had ever thought about a lot of these topics about like woo and stuff. I remember taking my little girl. She's very tiny. We went to the park. And someone had a thing there to sign up to get chlorine taken out of the water system, and I just signed it for the free balloon for my daughter.
Yeah.
Obviously, now I would never do that because I actually have a position on it. But this is what petitions sometimes boil down to. Really, is like if you're giving out something
free balloons.
Free.
Yeah. Well, I've never promoted any petition like that.
See, I'd still sign that petition for the balloon for a daughter, simply because I know the health codes and they'll never fucking change it.
Well, actually, in Canada, in some places they have changed it. It's without getting way into it, but it's upsetting to me that the people who think that it's awful know nothing about how it works. And nothing new there, I guess.
Well, they just want their hair to be nicer.
We want natural water. You know what? If you're living in a town of a few 100,000 people or more, you do
not want natural water. Yeah. What I want is what I would like. I wouldn't mind if they got rid of the chlorine if they pumped in nothing but pure distilled water. That might be good at like really high temperatures.
Well, the chlorine too. Like, and this is what I mean. Like I remember one person unfriended me over this, and I said, here's a meta study out of Calgary, Canada, which is a number of studies all put together, and they all reflect that as long as you have the fluoride between a certain amount that's controlled, then it's actually good for people. It strengthens teeth, doesn't hurt their health at all. Yeah. If it's too low or too high, even naturally you'll find that in a water system, right? So a lot of times they're taking fluoride out of your water system.
Yeah, and they replace it with jizz.
Jizz.
Yeah.
See, I only drink distilled water. Actually, I don't drink.
Yeah. What about jizz? Do you have your jizz natural or distilled?
I create the jizz, but I don't drink it. I just usually throw it away.
Oh.
It's such a waste of a natural resource. My God, there must be viewers. There must be so many viewers going, "Huh, he doesn't drink of both sexes." Going, oh.
Well, you got to remember, I'm severely obsessive compulsive.
Of course, yes.
So my arms have been bleeding all week actually. Like I've got all these red spots, far worse, like 100 times worse than you saw it last time.
Yeah, well, like all calluses and blisters on your palms.
No, not on my palms. It's just on the back of my hand and arms, right?
The back of your hand?
Yeah.
How?
Because I wash my hands over and over again with this antibacterial soap.
Oh.
Yeah, so it strips.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
don't masturbate so much then, and then you don't need to wash as much.
No, every time I touch
mean-
something on the ground, I gotta wash my hands. I put on my socks
Oh.
and shoes, I gotta wash my hands. Something drops on the floor, I
Oh.
gotta pick that up, wash it.
Now,
I had to wash my headset.
now, is there like
Yeah.
is there like an up and down to how acute it becomes? Like, is there sometimes it's a bit easier than others?
Yes, if I have enough soap and paper towels to clean things.
Hmm.
Sometimes
Is
I run
it-
I run out of napkins and stuff, and I can't wash things down like I want to. And it's like, fuck. And the dirtier something gets, the harder it is for me to touch it later.
Yeah, it sounds rough.
See, I grew up in the country in boarding schools and that. Like, I have different comprehensions of what is dirty. You know.
Well, people are like, well, all the germs are dead. And I said, yeah, and all the fecal matter, the bacterium left is still there. So to me, it's not just about how many bacterium there might be there. It's also about filth stuff.
Yeah, like the bacterium is bloody everywhere in the country. I mean, there's all fucking animals shitting everywhere, and like the wind and rain and like it's just all this wild shit and animals running around. It's just, and then when it gets dry and the wind picks it all up in dust and blows it everywhere and you inhale it and stuff like that. And of course, if you want to swim in a river or a lake, there's a fair bit of cow shit in that river or lake. It's, wow, what's the problem with that?
People wonder why I hated Vermont. You know, you had the most people matter coming out of the mouths of people in Vermont than you did in the land.
Yeah, but look, I'm nearly 50 and my hair's still perfectly dark and I'm the healthiest man on the planet. Do you know, you eat a ton of muck before you die and it won't harm you. It strengthens you. You shouldn't be scared of it. You'll make yourself ill if you avoid all that stuff.
I'm not. Well, actually, I'm almost never sick.
Well, I mean, good for you.
Well,
And I attribute it to that. In fact, I think there's two methods you can go really with survival, and I think it's when you're hit the medium that you start to be sick and stuff. You can either you can go the Spartan / George Carlin method, which is completely douse yourself in all the film and in the world, right? And then your body creates the immune system to it, or you can avoid it entirely and never have to worry about it.
You're the vault dweller and I'm the ghoul. If it's
pretty much.
Fallout terms. Yeah. That's all. I'll live a lot longer than you will.
I doubt it. I'm not lucky enough to die. I've tried to get
No, because if you remember the Fallout lore, ghouls like they live for 300, 400 years and shit like that. And humans, they just have normal. Anyway, well, I thought we diverted off topic, so I thought, sorry.
Were we on a topic?
We're always off topic.
That's true. What's happened to people personally this week? What's gone disastrously wrong for us all personally? The bad arguments you've had and shit like that.
Oh, the bad arguments. Okay, that's better than the other thing.
I got to see a friend I haven't seen in a few months. He sat down, and within 10 minutes, I made him so angry over a political argument unintentionally that he walked out.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I actually felt really bad about it. I told him, like, before he left, I'm like, dude, we'll change the topic. I'm sorry, I haven't seen you in a long time. And he's just like, I'm out of here. Too stressed. But I have to admit, I was pretty straightforward with him, and I did lean into the conversation pretty heavy.
I wasn't going to bring it up because it was a good friend of mine, but I had a similar thing with a friend of mine who wanted to talk to me about my politics recently. So we talked and that kind of thing. And I'm not going to go into it further because they are a good friend and, absolutely their privacy and their confidence is very important to me. But yes, I've had that as well. But that's not what I was going to talk about. My fun this week has been Warframe. Started playing Warframe.
Oh yeah,
it's really good. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really good. There's a couple of people in the Ultras 3 group who had started playing, and they were saying, oh, you can do a co-op and like PvP and stuff in this. Like we should all get into it. So I thought, yeah, I'll have a go. And yeah, I'm quite easily getting into it. It's difficult. It's quite hectic, but it's really nice. It's really easy. It's got the lovely flowing smoothness of a AAA game.
Yeah, it does.
Which platform are you playing
on? PC.
PC, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on PlayStation. I don't. My PC. My PC is in the shop.
Well, for all the good stuff that a PC has running inside it, the advantage is rather scuppered by the fact that everyone on PC is using a keyboard more often than not, which means we're using WASD keys to move around and our mouses and that kind of thing.
I hate that shit.
Yeah, but you're using joypads, so you're gonna fuck us up a lot more easily. In that.
I prefer the arrow keys. Fuck you if you're a company that makes me use WASD. Like seriously, fuck you. I want to use the arrow keys. I want to use what's easiest for me, and that's using these keys: the shift, the enter, the space bar, the 0, the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 5. I can pretty much reach none of them.
Yeah. Oh, it is mouse steer as well. I mean, it's not WASD. It's mouse steered effectively, and then flick the E button with your sword because you can't find your gun. There's a lot of that for me, but I'm a real noob.
The mouse is point. Rotate with the other mouse button. It's all good.
Yeah, I've been noobing up. But I'm loving it. It's fucking really well done. The levels are glorious, and they're procedurally generated to a degree, but from tiles. So a lot of the areas will be roughly the same, that kind of thing. But it's lovely, and I think I just can't wait to do some co-op with some people because it's really cute. The weapons are fucking lovely. The progression, I think. The progression system and how much they give you, I think, is generous enough for a pay-to-win game. And it's only pay-to-win to a degree. You're not really paying to beat other people, which is where pay-to-win, which is where pay-to-win gets nasty, and where it becomes a blight on gamers. So I'm thinking, I'm going to play this for about 2-3 months, I think. Total Biscuits just got back into it. There's a couple of people I know from Ultras doing it. I already know 14 people on my Steam playing it. So if anyone out there wants to start playing and join up with us and do a bit of co-op here and there or meet other people to do co-op, get in touch. You probably know where to find me.
Not only that, but I'd also like to shoot the crap out of you in Team Fortress 2.
Shooting the crap out of your friends. It is nice to do every so often.
Yeah. Yeah, I like killing my friends in video games.
Yeah, TF2 is great.
It's like, haha, me against you.
If you want to change from that, this is gorgeous. It's great.
I played a bit of Warframe, but I haven't seen any multiplayer for it. It looks like it's just a one first-person shooter thing.
You can do co-op, can't you? 4 of you in a sort of dungeon at once. I think.
I haven't seen the option for that, but I didn't play very long. I only got to I think the second mission. I'm like level 10
it's continually been in beta, so it continually changes and upgrades. There's sort of like 18 different battle modes and that kind of thing now. Numerous skins, or what are they called? Tennos. Numerous little different people you can be with all their different ability sets and that. I think it's pretty. I think it's quality for what it is. You can pick it up, you can put it down, and it's good quality. You can have a bash around for about 2 hours with some mate. Yeah, and it's free to play. Yeah, it's freemium, isn't it? Obviously, and it can get fucking expensive. I mean, I've seen packages in there for like $59. Yeah. To buy a load of skins and weapons, and I thought, no, fuck off.
I think,
but there's more.
I think that's for people who like. Sorry, I think that's for people who are like, you know what, I got money to burn. I want as many options as possible, and they buy every package they can, right? Every crate and every, I don't know, like Christmas special thing. I see that on Ebony all the time, and I keep hearing my voice. So who's echoing me?
I don't know. Listen. It's all about how it's carried out. If a game, I like the concept. If you have a game you want to set up for free, anyone can play, and then if they like it enough, here's the parts you got to buy to really get the most out of it. And it's a reasonable price, and it doesn't keep going on and on and on and on, or it's not unreasonable. I think that's a perfectly fine model. But these things are being taken so out of whack by some of these companies. Like with Star Wars Battlefront, I know Smashlock's been playing it. He enjoys it, but anyone who plays it knows that it was overpriced. And as I understand it, if you paid $10 extra for one of the special packs when it came out, you would get a gun. You would get a gun that was as strong as the largest rifle you can unlock right off the bat.
Yeah.
It was a handgun. You just run around killing everyone. One hit. And so at this point, we're moving into the territory of there's one set of gameplay for the wealthy, and there's one set of gameplay for the people with not much money. And I'm very uncomfortable with where we're heading with this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's been heading that way on browser games for a decade. I used to play Mafia Wars. I used to play it not professionally but seriously. Yeah, and I spent £3,000 on Mafia Wars. £3,000 over about a year.
I played Mobsters, which was about the same thing.
No, it wasn't. It was shit. Mafia Wars was much proper. I know Mobsters. That was crap.
McDonald's, Burger King, Energizer, Duracell.
Yeah. No, but honestly, there's no comparison. Everyone was playing Mafia Wars, and it was. We had 27 million people. 27 million people playing it at its high point. Yeah, we had one clan battle where people worked out they'd spend 90 grand carding up to win this war. 90 grand these people in this clan had spent carding up, spending money on their credit cards, buying points to make their characters stronger, to win a war against a load of other people. It was obscene. Obscene. It's already there, it's already happening, and they want everyone to play like that.
I'm going to take your word for the quality difference between the two games, because clearly you were much more invested in, and you would know much better than me.
Well, I'm always a cheap bastard, so keep that in account.
Invested is a very, very kind way of saying it, isn't it? Invested is so kind. Thank you. Thank you, Corey.
The most impressive thing I've seen online so far was, now this was shown to me a while ago, so maybe something more impressive has happened since, but Eve, I think, is the name of the game, the one that was designed originally out of Iceland, which means Iceland has a value now, so before it didn't, and it probably will never.
It's horrible, isn't it? Eve is true evil. They're in there to rip each other off. Yeah, you can spend real money on things in there, and you can have all your real stolen really easily. How is that a game? How is that not theft?
I never got into that game because of the cost. I could see right away that people who had more money would have much more fun with it, and I just couldn't afford to have the fun that I would want. But the neat thing was, they had. Did you hear about the big clusterfuck war that they had like a couple years ago? It was in real time. And so many people showed up for this war with their ships and their alliances that they had
the whole thing jammed.
Yeah, it was slowing way down, and so the people in Europe, when they were playing, they'd be doing their battles, and then they'd be waiting. The time would shift, and then they'd kind of hand it off to people, way over in the east, like Australia or whatever, and then they would pass it over to the North American teammates they had when they would show up, when they were waking up. And some people were like calling in sick to work so that they wouldn't miss their battle times during the day. And they had images of it that some people sped up, and just there were laser blasts flying in every direction. I've never seen anything like it before.
And this is all people targeting this shit in real time, and like organizing and saying, right, now hit that, and calling other people to come in and saying, we want to use these shields, we want to stop them from flying away by, I can't remember the Eve terminology anymore, but that's sort of what you're doing. You stop people from flying away, and then you unleash fucking hell on them. And this was like all the ships, more or less, that were in the EVE universe that were any good, that were connected to a clan or something, all pitching up in the same chunk of space and blowing the hell out of each other to sort out massive clan shit.
And it wasn't even over a major issue. Like, it was a dispute, but it was not the biggest dispute that's ever been in the game. Estimates for that in real money, people lost over $330,000 US in their real life money investments. And as I understand it,
because they bought these ships and they blown them up.
One guy was talking about it that I watched. He said that people could buy these larger ships for real money, for like a few $1,000s in real money. And what normally would happen is these ships would fly into a battle, blow the shit out of everybody, or they could easily have enough time to turn around and leave and then repair their ship. But what happened here is everyone that showed up basically targeted them as soon as they were on screen. Ships were actually getting destroyed, and then your money's gone. Yeah.
There have been there was another issue with some guy who got into one of the major guilds, and during a period of great crisis in the clan, he was accidentally put in charge of all their stuff. Well, not even accidentally, he's sort of art for it. And so he was holding all their stuff, transferred it to his account, passed it around to everyone else, and got all this shit for it and all this ISK and currency for it. Totally fucked them, and there was nothing they could do. All these people, all in this clan, thrown their stuff into the big clan pot and that kind of thing. And this guy nicked the whole lot. And and they was telling him, turn around and tell him, oh no, well, it's gone, mate, it's gone. I was fucking you around. And they were like, no, we can't believe it, but you're our buddy, you wouldn't do that to us. Go on, no, it's all gone. Literally, I fucked you, honestly. And they were like, no, please don't.
You wouldn't.
I'll put that on general purpose anti-SJW round later. I'll put the video of that. It's shocking. It's almost tearful. This shit gone. Just nicked because they trusted the wrong person. They didn't do anything wrong at all. All they did was trust someone. All gone. All this stuff. Big problems. Big arguments for all of them. Oh, all these people turning around to them and saying, you fucked us. No, we didn't know. We're not involved. He's fucked us. No. Horrible. Imagine all that shit on your doorstep. Oh.
I just got a comment. Somebody that doesn't like my position on feminism first tried the tactic, we shouldn't be afraid of words. So they said, I don't fear words, but I distinguish between concepts, which is the point of words. And then the reply was, what is feminism? Why does it scare you?
I just fear feminists. They're horrible. Oh, very angry, very scary, big, large women. Oh.
This is just what I said. You can fit in other words to these phrases, and they mean nothing. Like, what is fascism? Why are you scared of it? Well, I have my concerns about ideologies, right? I'm not sitting in the corner going, oh my God. Jesus, I don't know what the fuck.
Oh, dude, next time you do that, just instead of fascism, right? Throw in genocide.
What is genocide?
What's wrong with genocide? Why are you afraid of it?
Or even just what is anti-Semitism? Why are you afraid of it?
Well, I don't know if that all logically makes any sense, but you know,
well, I'm just saying you can fit in.
You can logic model with things that are relevant, but you can't conflate genocide with fascism. Fascism is a political, and like genocide is killing a fucking whole bunch of people. You know, fascism isn't always genocide, which isn't even what
I'm not saying it is, but what he's saying though is that this statement is so empty. Though you can slide in any word you want. What's wrong with paper towels? Yeah. Why are you afraid of paper towels? Like it doesn't. No, yeah. you can change in fluffy bunny for genocide, and the argument is just as weak.
Yeah. Now that I agree with you with.
It's about the logical experiment, not a comparison between two things.
Exactly.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm willing to do it on most days, but it gets tiring to continually debunk the same ridiculous arguments about.
Well, don't. Why do you argue with people?
But feminism is about equality. That's why we say we have to kill all men.
And I've made this distinction before where I say there's a difference between, there are some people who use the term feminist, and my only disagreement with them is I don't think that they should use that term. I don't agree with them about the use of it. But why should I go around continually adding all kinds of words to the phrase I'm using when we all know what I'm talking about? You know, when I say the crazy feminists.
You shouldn't.
I think...
You shouldn't. You should stop it. Yeah. You shouldn't argue with feminists, and you shouldn't change what you're doing because of feminism.
The arguments that I have are Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't. No, I'd shut up. If I don't carry on, then I've given up, haven't I? You know, I'll talk over you if I want to talk over you.
Well, listen. When I have arguments, it's often there's a couple different reasons I do this. It's in my nature, first of all. But when I'm arguing with other people who disagree with me, that is me making sure I'm testing myself, right? Because a lot of people I know who are weak on these subjects just don't want to be impolite, or it's too stressful or inconvenient. I try not to shy away for those reasons, which a lot of people do react like you do, like, why are you doing it?
Well, you have to. Well, you don't want to waste time arguing with feminists, is what I'm saying. By all means, argue these topics, but don't get trapped into arguing with them because they don't play fair. They just give you sophistry every time. It's kind of what I'm hinting towards.
I just give people right back what they give.
Yeah, well, no. Why do that? You waste your own time when you could be trying to convince people who will listen.
Well, because sometimes people can't see what they're doing until you do it to them.
Well, I think that there
maybe.
I think there's validity to what you're saying, Ian. But I guess until I am invited to open debates at like conferences or something, it's really the only format I have to argue for an audience. People who look in and read what's said might consider a point.
I don't know. I always felt I was one voice arguing in the wilderness in the past, and this is what I started building. Well, yeah, and this is why and collating groups of like-minded podcasters and promoting them. In this way, I have more than a megaphone. I have a network of like-minded voices. I have no control over it. Well, this is it. I can't control what anyone says. I can know that I trust the people that I promote to have roughly my opinions, but I still have a very wide gamut of them. From, you know, Sargon is quite moderate, and you have people far more moderate than him that I promote. And I say promote, it's not official. And then I'll still do the same with people like The Daily Shower and Mirakiu and that kind of thing, which is decidedly racist. There's no way, shape, or form about it. Whenever they lay the echo on after they mention a Jewish name, it's quite, oh my, you know. We keep talking about putting people in ovens and gas chambers. It's sort of like, oh, this is lampshades. They think this is distasteful. Oh my, but it's incredibly funny, and it's the Overton window stuff.
I understand that not everyone's going to argue like myself. I am slowly over the years becoming what was often labeled on Hitchens a contrarian. It's a lot of people perceive me that way, but I will agree. I heard Hitchens once take issue with the term for himself.
He didn't like being called a contrarian. I've been called a contrarian, and I didn't like it. I felt it was a cop-out on their part. Probably did as well. So that's the three of us in the same boat.
Yeah.
Contrarian is a cop-out accusation to someone. It says, like, well, look, you're just showing off. But it's not true at all. Well, it's not true at all. Just because you have a more nuanced opinion on a subject than they do, and perhaps you've done more research, you've had more looks in the background at different sources on the same subject. This is what they're trying to destroy, to ad hominem. And we must always stand up and say, well, no, it's bullshit, mate, bullshit.
Well, it's funny you said it, because that just happened to me yesterday.
Really?
Or was it the day before, or something like that? Yeah, it was, well, sometime after during the weekend. Who
would do that to you?
Right?
Yeah.
A feminist.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, I told her she was wrong. I said, okay. I said, all right. What legal rights don't you have that I do have? And she goes, well, it's not about legal rights. She was like, women don't have the legal right to vote. I'm like, yes, they do. 19th Amendment, women's suffrage. Like, women don't have constitutional equal pay. No, but there is a law, the Equal Pay Act of '63. They can't stop you from voting, 74. They can't stop this. And then she's like, well, you're just saying no to everything I'm saying, so there's no point in talking to you. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm providing you evidence against your claims.
Yeah.
And then I think she blocked me at some point. It's like,
well, that is the coup de grace.
Like, I'm a contrarian. I'm actually posting chronologically against your arguments the actual legal definite, stuff. And I'm like, the pay gap's a myth that's been debunked by at least. That's even being debunked by Freakonomics. Freakonomics debunked them.
Generally, it's people on your own side that will accuse you of being a contrarian, because you're just the opposition, aren't you? It's quite that simple. If I have an opposition view to a feminist, I'm a men's rights activist. If I have an opposition view to another men's rights activist, then I'm being a contrarian, and I'm not pulling along with the team. And that's generally, I find, the context in which that's used.
If you're not with us, you're against us.
Yeah. It was a big hard thing, that one. I heard that. Yeah.
A lot of people really like this picture that I threw together.
Oh, the picture.
Can you see it?
I wasn't looking at the hangout. No, hang on. Oh, yes, yeah.
I particularly like the unimpressed look that it looks like he's staring right at Trudeau.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And it's such a true statement. So often the people that keep blabbering on about tolerance are the most intolerant bastards you're ever going to meet.
There was one I heard a while back, but I can't remember what the term is, sadly. But it essentially covers people who use democracy and the civic freedoms it gives, and the protections it gives to fight for the intolerances that they want. And it was so specifically aimed at the Islamic community.
I think the technical term is wanker.
Well, no, it was a proper Latin thing, not to be too autistic, but it really was a good word, and its definition was very, very sharp, and I'm ashamed that I can't remember it.
I like looking into words. I think a lot of people use them like blunt objects, but one of the ones that always got under my skin until I learned a little more about it, which I finally looked into, I'm glad I did, was orientated versus oriented. Well, I have friends that say orientated, and I'm like, what's the point? That must be a made-up word. What's the point when you already have the word oriented? What is it possible?
Yeah, I thought.
But then I looked into it and I found out it's a cultural thing. In England, orientated tends to be more common, at least what I found out. So it depends on where you are, which word has become more common. That's all it is.
Or,
fair enough.
Insurrection versus resurrection.
Which two?
No, insurrection and resurrection are two completely different words.
Well, in the dictionary I looked up, they said they were the same thing.
Oh, maybe they're
resurrection. Resurrection is bringing something back from the dead, and insurrection is a riot.
Well, I might be thinking of a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have a common origin to them, maybe. That's sometimes the case. That's another one. I made an assumption.
Oh, yeah, action. That's the common origin. Action.
When I was younger, I made the assumption that God and good had the same German origin to them, and I found out that's not wrong. So I have no idea why they sound so much the same, but it's totally circumstance.
Exactly. Like etymology has complicated history and is very, very nuanced.
You know what I'm thinking? Revolution.
World of 2016. Oh yeah. Revolution and resurrection are the same word. No, insurrection and revolution are the same word. No, damn it, you've got me doing it now. I tried to hold this revolution, and look, there's fucking corpses everywhere, and they're crawling around. Jesus, it's a zombie. This wasn't what I wanted to happen. I wanted social justice. I've got zombies. Yes.
Yeah. That's okay. We have a flying raptor Jesus to defend against them.
Right.
Right.
Moving forward.
Let's get serious. Well, the last point I was going to make about contrarian, I think where that comes from is if you hold a position that's not the popular one, or at least people think is the popularly accepted one, you know, that people do take a lot of comfort in feeling they're part of the majority. And a contrarian is someone who's willing to go, I don't care if it's popular or not, I think it's wrong. And
well, here's the thing we can do today. To everyone accuses us of being contrarians in our right-wing views, we can turn around and show them Trump's fucking poll numbers and say, no, actually, look, this is just Trump. This isn't even all rightists. This is just Trump. You're in the minority. I'm in the middle bit because I'll talk to you. They won't fucking talk to you, will they? No, I'm around, you're the fucking extreme, my kids, and you ought to be careful because probably we're the only people who are protecting your ass from those crazies over there. And I think that's the way to lay it out to the left these days. You are not, like Obama is your old thing. You're not getting a new president. You ought to tone it down a bit.
This is often the spectrum that American politics we can use right now is a good example. I'll talk to people who are like, Donald Trump, we love Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders is from the devil, right? And I'll be like, well, Donald Trump has, there's certain things about what he's doing that I find really interesting. I have some concerns about Donald Trump. No, you know what? You're just a liberal. That's the assumption that immediately pops up. And I, of course, am not a liberal. I fight with them more than I do with conservatives. And then if I talk to the other crowd that's all about Bernie Sanders, and I have this, and of course Donald Trump is the devil, and I try and talk to them about some of my concerns about Bernie Sanders. Well, then obviously I'm a conservative. This is the unthinking mind.
Well, can I divert you just a little bit on the pick? Because I was going to mention, something on my wall in a few places too. That would be a sort of the equivalent of an open letter to the alt-right, as it were. Saying, if we're going to keep throwing our weight behind Trump at this point, it's about time we actually fucking knew and got him to qualify what he's going to do and what he stands for. Because. And then I thought
that would be a good idea.
Other than bankruptcy.
Yeah, well, he wasn't bankrupt for any other reason than the town he was in went bankrupt, and he didn't want to pour money into the hotels as its tourism industry dried up. So it wasn't anything to do with his mistakes. But there we go. That's another thing. And then I thought, I'm on an outright group. I'm on an outright group. If I post this here, I'm going to get torn to fucking shreds. So I thought, I'm not going to ask that question now. I'm not going to ask that question on my own wall. But I kind of am more keen to do it now, since it's cropped up in our conversation, And that's about all I've got to say on that. I've had a drink. I've had many bongs tonight.
A contrarian is a librarian with horrible spelling.
Yeah.
And as
contrarian. It says, Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Oh, hello.
Yeah. Merriam. Where are you? Webster's. What? Come on
here. All right. A person who takes contrary position or attitude, specifically an investor who buys shares of stock when most others are selling and sells when others are buying.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, that's no fucking use, is it? That's that's specific to a stocks trader. But you can see, yes, you can see as a metaphor, to a contrarian in political terms or in social terms or bloody philosophical terms, yeah, you can see how that fits, how that's an adequate simile. Yep. And that makes me hot downstairs in the trousers. Yeah.
Now, I also have
when I see logic, I get fiery. Oh, yeah.
I have an interesting thought, too. Since we're talking about banning people, England itself also was...
oh, my God. We tried to ban Donald Trump. Yeah. I was so ashamed. So ashamed. The pettiness. The foolishness. Oh. And then I looked and I saw it was 400,000 people. And I thought... well, compared to even Britain's Muslim community at about 11 million or something, that's nothing. No, what is it, a couple of million or something? I thought that's nothing. 400,000 people is nothing compared to everyone in the British Isles and in the UK. They're all happy for him to turn up. They're not going to waste their time on such a silly petition. So I thought, this is students, this is activists, and nobody else. And the government shouldn't have listened and should have filtered that one out. That's my opinion there.
This is where I stress the importance, going back to what I was talking about before with Australia, where it links in, is the importance of having constitutions to restrict popular sentiment against individual rights or smaller groups. The point I made to them is that in Australia, this guy coming to Australia, pickup artist, you think he's a sleaze, whatever, that's your opinion. We're not fighting for his right to travel across the border to your country. Australians were bringing him in, and they wanted to hear what he had to say. And this is one group of Australians deciding for another group that they know better what they should hear. Right? These are the dangerous ideas. And I told them, you guys are all liberals. You're lefties. Wait till the conservatives get power, and they use the exact same powers you've enabled the government to use here. And then we'll hear you crying when Richard Dawkins can't get in, when James Randi is called a deviant.
No, they won't cry about that, will they? It's when Laurie Penny can't travel out of England. That's when they'll cry. Yeah, we should do that. We should get all the people in the country, in not this country but other countries, to send petitions to England demanding that Laurie Penny not be allowed to travel to their countries. And we'll pick a feminist every other month, and we'll hit them up and hit their government up and say, don't let her come to Croatia, don't let her come to the Philippines, don't let her come to Guam. We're just from everywhere. It'll pour them on. It'd be fucking hilarious.
Put Laurie Penny on a boat, and she can't ever go on shore.
Yeah. Please transport her to fucking Saudi Arabia. Please make her take that stupid bondage collar off. She is not. Oh, fucking.
What's more liberal, Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia?
What?
What's that?
What's worse?
What's more liberal? Yeah, which one's more liberal, Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia?
Afghanistan.
I guess
every time Afghanistan is more liberal than Saudi Arabia.
Well, I was going to say, I guess it depends which particular neighborhood you're in and how much government control is exerted over it.
You can do what you fucking like in Afghanistan. Who's going to fucking stop you? There's the Taliban and there's the police. Both of them will take bribes and they've got no problems if you're a Muslim. You fuck kids in fucking Afghanistan and do what you like. You just shoot up with heroin, they grow poppies. What the fuck? Of course Saudi Arabia is less liberal than Afghanistan.
You're just not allowed to sing and dance if you're a woman. I got
it. You're allowed to sing and dance as long as the men have given you permission. And then and then they'll suffer the wrath of the government for giving you permission for something immoral. That's how I think the technicality how that works.
No, they banned it even before the Taliban sat in, apparently.
What's that?
I just finished watching the last Bill Murray movie, right, which is about this girl who goes on to Afghanistan Star or whatever, and it said, based on a true story. So I looked up the true story, and one of the things it said was that even before the Taliban came in, Afghanistan banned singing and dancing, and one woman got like all sorts of death threats because she was singing and dancing. She wasn't just standing there singing. And you know, they said to this day, like, that the farthest anyone's gotten, any woman's gotten, was being one of the last 3 contestants. No woman's ever, in the 12 years it's been running, a woman has yet to win the Afghanistan. It's like, you know, Afghanistan Has Talent. It's based off the you know, everyone knows that show. So yeah, so they said that, like, because she danced and she didn't wear her hijab, or however that's pronounced, she got like so many death threats.
Well, when they talk about, this is a picture of Afghanistan women in the 50s and 60s, and I've tried talking this stupid immigration issue where there's these defenders who are blind about it. You know, they keep saying, they have the assumption our civilization can never change from what it is. You take a good look at this image and now think about the way they are now. Like, this is a reality that can happen anywhere. And this is why you fight for the principles. You fight for the principles of freedom in your country, and you have to educate yourself on how they work and what can threaten them. It's
look what happened to Grumble.
What's that?
Look what happened to Grumble.
To Grumble?
Yeah, Grumble. He was one of Hollywood's most famous, talented writers, right? But he was a communist. And then the 1950s rolled around. And that whole scare of the communists in America, they're the worst threat than ever, and blah, blah, blah. Right? And so he got called in front of, you know, Congress, and they asked him questions, and he said, I'm not going to answer those. If you charge me with a crime, then I'll be, you know, answer. But what crimes am I being? And they said, no, you will answer these questions. He didn't, and they all got thrown into jail or prison for 2 years. And you know, when he got out, when the Hollywood 10 got out, they couldn't find any work because they were on a blacklist. Well, the interesting thing is he eventually went under a bunch of pseudonyms. And what pretty much destroyed the blacklist is he wrote one of the most famous scripts of all, and that was Spartacus. And the people that blacklist, the people who were responsible for keeping the blacklist, they tried to threaten, but that didn't work. And they said, well, we've already got the whole movie going, and I'm going to take my name off the movie if they take Grumble's name off the movie. Well, his alternate name. So they couldn't lose all that money, so it became this huge controversy. People picketed outside the theaters, you know, pretty much like they did the movie Dogma, except, you know, Grumble wasn't protesting his own movie. You know, John F. Kennedy come out, and then the reporters asked him what he thought, and he said, "That's a really good movie. I liked it." And that destroyed the blacklist. And I don't think it officially went away until '75. So we're talking about 20 years.
The concept of undesirables is what they call it in Harry Potter.
Yeah, probably that.
I wandered off to get a cigarette, and I just got back, and I've noticed this picture that's appeared on the screen. Now, I could ask what that is, but I'm going to guess. Is that a picture of Tehran in the 1960s or the 1970s?
It is. Just
Ding! Was that correct?
Yep.
Is it? Oh, brilliant. Fucking yeah. Anti-Islam champion. Yeah, baby. Yeah. No, look, and that is what Iran looked like before the Islamic Revolution Ayatollah.
This is the point that I was bringing home when I started putting these pictures up. I don't know if you heard it, is that in these places they never thought they would today look like they do. Carry women in sacks walking around.
Afraid they're going to be beaten, afraid they're going to be raped in a real rape culture that they weren't experiencing 30, 50 now, 40 years now ago. Shocking. Look at them, they look so young, so modern.
Yeah,
that could be a bunch of Yeah, that could be a bunch of hipsters on any campus in the USA right now. And they would be here studying right now if it wasn't for these Islamic theocracies. You would have women from Iran over here in American university and from all over the Middle East if it wasn't for the spread of Islam that we've allowed to happen in policy-wise all over the outrage, Daily Mail.
Did you guys hear about what happened in Iran recently?
Well, there's a lot happens. Yeah, tell me.
Okay. Well, apparently there's this.
Yeah.
There was this guy who was a philosopher who went around the Middle East, and he was talking about peace and stopping all the wars and the fighting and the killing and the bloodshed and everything else like that. And as you said, they called him an undesirable in Afghanistan. I believe it was in Afghanistan. And they killed him. Right? They executed him for his ideas, and they said he had unpopular ideas. That was their excuse for killing him. And the Iranians lost their shit. They rioted and shit. They protested heavily. They screamed at him.
No. You're talking about Saudi Arabia and Iran, aren't you?
Yeah.
And the execution recently
okay.
over New Year, Sheikh Zakir Namir Sayyid Namir, I think his name is. He was executed amongst 47 or 57 other people over the New Year in Saudi Arabia, and he's a very, very famous and inspirational cleric. Now, in Saudi Arabia, they're mainly Sunnis, and more than Sunnis, there's a proportion of Sufis, but mainly there are Wahhabists and Salafists who are very, very extreme literal interpreters of the Quran. They want the most extreme Quran, and more than that, Islam based on the Hadiths, which is the story of the Prophet's life. And they're a bit iffy. They're a bit iffy as to what real Islam was, because they could have been adjusted and changed many, many years after the fact.
Okay, with Christianity, when it came to the understanding that it was all a bunch of malarkey at an academic level, it began centuries ago with the Reformation, because Reformation, as opposed to Catholics or Orthodox, felt that the church wasn't the final authority. It should always be Scripture. So it made this focus that the Reformation Christians thought would justify their beliefs, but when they actually started looking at the old manuscripts, something that a lot of Catholic priests knew would happen, and that's why they're against this, is it started showing how many variations there were and how they don't have any original copies left and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
and how many, as you say, how much confliction there were between original versions of the Bible.
Yep.
The stories of Jesus and of the Old Testament kind of thing. And the Romans, they had the Treaty of Nicaea, or the Council of Nicaea rather, and they put together a Bible that worked, where all the ends tied up.
Yeah.
They put their accountants to work on it, and that's what we've got as modern Christianity, and it's not anything Abrahamic.
So
God would never allow anything in the Bible that He didn't approve of.
It's that tautology, right? Well, the Bible is true because God made the Bible because it's true. So it's true because God made the Bible.
Yeah. And to answer, you can. I mean, God wouldn't allow anything to be in the Bible that He didn't approve of. Of course, He approves of it all. Well, he floods whole fucking planets. He doesn't give a shit. He'll turn women into pillars of salt. Like, the man is crazy. He's like Q. He has no.
Look, the guy needed a salt leg for his horse, man.
Yeah, he needed a salty toothpick, didn't he? And that made it all right. That made it all good.
Hey, might have turned his daughter into gold.
Yeah.
Gold's less valuable than salt back then.
Well, I mean, and the point when it comes to Islam is that they're behind in this process because anyone who wanted to look academically into the scriptures was killed right, or threatened to be
Yes.
killed. So now it's beginning, and it's been going on for a generation or two, where people usually outside the country have really been doing it. But there are some really good academics who break down to the point where it's very clear that what we have is not the original scriptures, as they had to be. At one point,
And
they
the
all had to
Quran
be
is
up, right?
yeah, and the Quran is not the real Quran. There were big chunks of the Quran that got lost in battles, and that got destroyed. And there is abrogation in the Quran, where the first part, which is quite gentle, is abrogated by the second part of the Quran, which is more warlike. There are all these salihs and hadiths, which also change the meaning of religion. And then there are all the sects, over 72 different recognized big sects of Islam out there. The whole, and then you get to the point in Islam of talking about this Reformation, this well-vaunted Reformation, and we're seeing the Reformation, and their Reformation is to reform the original Islam, where everyone got killed. I mean, it's a reformation of sorts, isn't it? But it really does rely on the death and the submission of everything around Islam as we see it today.
Yeah.
So we have to say, do we allow modern Islam to carry on as it is and to reform itself as it's doing at the moment in alarming ways? Do we allow that to carry on? Or do we slap them back into the Bronze Age and say, no, you come back, cut your hair, cut your nails, put the guns away, you're getting a job in a car factory, and you're going to have a lovely house and a lovely wife and all these great kids that you're not going to beat, you're not going to knock them around, and Islam, fine, you can do that as much as you like, but you're not knocking people around, you're not cutting bits off people, you don't have because they want to, and if someone wants to leave Islam, you've got to deal with that. You've just got to not leave them, just let them go, just ignore them, they were fools. That's all you need to say. Just calm yourselves. That's what Islam needs.
An interesting thought I've had is, okay, so with anyone who follows Star Trek at all, everyone knows the Prime Directive, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those complicators in a lot of episodes. You're not supposed to interfere with a less developed society. What a lot of people don't realize is that came directly from the UN. They took one of these codes that they put in there. This is more of a philosophy rather than binding, but more advanced societies, for instance, America, England, Canada, at the time they made this, they were worried they were going to go to areas with tribes and then take advantage of them, or just introduce things that would throw them into complete chaos, like happened with Native Americans when we arrived. So this philosophy was adopted for Star Trek on like an interstellar type of concept. The interesting thing is that now the UN spearheads interference into these parts of the world. It's like,
one thing I'll pop up with, as soon as you build a boat and go sailing off your coast, though, Prime Directive is over. You're an intergalactic species then, and we can do what we like to you. If we see a boat, you're fucked.
Well,
but other than that, I totally agree. Yeah, if you just got bows and arrows, we won't fuck with you. Yeah.
When we look at this country,
fair enough.
Well, one of the problems is when I argue with people about Saudi Arabia and how they have all of these issues that are so regressive, and they need to get into the modern era, is they'll point out, well, they've got the internet and they've got cell phones and they've got cars, and but that's because they didn't develop any of those things. We just trade them. We trade them these things for their oil.
Yeah, they sell oil. Yeah, that's all they do, and they don't even know how to do the oil thing very well.
Don't forget about
we
all
do
the
that.
Weapons.
It's not that people from that part of the world aren't capable of contributing. Like the pictures I just showed you in Afghanistan, where there are women in a science lab. It's that they're not permitted by their theocratic governments. Yeah.
They're not.
So this is exactly the type of concern that the Prime Directive, if you will, was concerned about. Like, oh, we want their oil, so let's just give them all this shit, and whatever happens.
Yeah. Their biggest concern, other than world domination, is how to spend the money, how to pass the money around so the peasants don't revolt, and how to keep as much of it to yourself as is reasonable. That's all Saudi Arabia is. It's just a big pot of oil with some fucking crazy Arabs that claim they own it. Well, they are. And look,
You
what?
make it sound like the Beverly Hillbillies, only a larger scale.
Yeah. I find Islam evil. I've spent a good few years looking at it.
Here's my question. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but when we invaded Iraq, why didn't we just keep it? Why didn't we just make that another part of the United States?
Because
we have.
That would have been a hell of a
because that's too bloody obvious. That's why. Because that would be too damn obvious.
You can only do that.
We have kept it. Yeah. Like, I tell you, here's the thing. Isn't it incredibly difficult to exploit the oil in Iraq? Wouldn't it be good if nobody was able to watch what we did? ISIS. Trucks of oil flowing into Turkey. Oh.
Well, no one can stop that.
See what's happened? We put ISIS there. ISIS will spread, or things like it will spread all over the oil regions of the Middle East whilst they suck the oil out of them, and sell it. That's what's going on.
This is one thing that, though I respect why Hitchens held the belief he did about the invasion of Iraq, I disagreed with the invasion back then, and I still do, just because my concern was focused more on the instability and divisions in the area. Like I don't know why they didn't just break it up into 3 or 4 countries. Wouldn't that be a lot easier?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A Kurdish part, a Shia part that was friendly with Iran, and a part for the other lot.
Yeah.
I forget. You know, like
the Shia, the Sunni.
Yeah, the monkey. The Alawites, the Almadians, the Yazidis, the Christians, the Kurds, the Peshmergas.
What's that?
The Druze, the Abyssinians, the Somalians, the Yemenis, the Nigerians. Oh, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram.
This is starting to sound like you're making up. Is this a dance? Like
it does, doesn't it?
It's like the
Macarena. Hey, Macarena! My God, yes. My God, somebody in your State Department is just dicking around with some random word generator, random Arabic name.
All these different groups. I felt the same way when I was younger and I had to read through the Old Testament. I was like trying to make sense of all these different people that it's talking about that Israel's at war with.
Yes. The Zachabites with the Caliphites and the Catamites and the Bingadingers and the Jebediahs and the Abadiahs and Ziphaniahs and the things.
Philistines. I remember the Philistines.
The Philistines, Phoenicians, the Sadducees, the... Yeah. Oh, hang on. Let me go and get a cigarette, and then I'll tell you about the Sea People and about where Jews really came from.
Okay, yeah.
Now, isn't that worth hanging out for? Let me go get a cigarette. I'll be straight back. Hang on.
Would you guys be... well, he's gone, but would you be interested if... Karn, do you know who Robert M. Price is?
I'm bad with names, man. So you're gonna have to remind me.
He's a biblical scholar specifically of the New Testament, but he knows like amazing amounts of stuff about all kinds of academics surrounding everything around the Bible. He does the Bible Geek as a podcast.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe you haven't heard.
No, I don't know who he is. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I've had him on the show before. By far, it is the most popular thing we've ever had on, and anyone we've had on. It was over 2 years ago, and just posting his repost, we reposted a lot of stuff up to YouTube, and we've had over 1,000 people listen to it, because he's known within skeptics community, atheist community, a lot of stuff like this, but he's not a liberal. So on our show, I actually invited him to talk about things outside of the liberal stratosphere, right?
Right.
And people apparently really found that interesting, and I think there's people are in these conference kind of communities. I think they underestimate what open discourse will bring as far as interest.
Yeah.
I was thinking, anyways, that one of these live streams, maybe I'll see if I can get him on for one, and we can have a discussion with him about not just the incredible amount of knowledge he has about the Bible, which is always amazing, but some of his perspectives on some of this stuff from somebody who isn't the cliche atheist.
I'm not an atheist. I'm just
No,
not
I
a
know that
Christian.
you're not. I know that you're not, but I meant that there is a cliche kind of with atheists that they're all liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hello,
get
I'm
accused of being an atheist a lot.
That's because
Do
you're.
you?
I'll come back.
That's because you're not closed-minded about.
Yeah, don't say it. I'm an agnostic theist.
Oh, you look like a Muslim, though. Really?
I get that a lot. I was told I
Yeah.
look like Adam Sandler, before 9/11. No, seriously, I get that a lot. And I didn't see that until I saw the movie Click, and then I was all depressed for like an hour.
I promised you
Put on
guys.
the fat suit and the beard, and it was like, oh, god damn it, I do look like that.
I promised you a story, didn't I, about the origin of the Jewish people. Now, this is my theory. But there is a lot of stuff and fact
But before you
that
start,
backs up this theory. Yeah.
Before you start, this is not going to include Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. This is completely. This is historical, factual, and in no way casts really any aspersions on the Jewish people at all. It's just a theory about what their origins were before they became the people of Israel and that kind of thing. Clear my nose before I do this. I grabbed a bit of chicken. It was very salty. Here's the thing. Right during the Bronze Age, when things were all going off, when the Hittites were going, the Greeks were going, and there were the Thracians and the Dacians and all these people and the Celts goofing about in Europe and that kind of thing. The early Egyptians were in their golden age and that kind of thing. The Sumerians were up in their bit of northern Iraq and that kind of thing. All this was happening, and all this crazy stuff started happening. Now, I think it started happening, I'll say this initially, because of change in weather, maybe a period of global climate change. And I think it caused a push of people who'd found their farmlands failing them to come out of their areas, people who already had ships and boats and that kind of thing, to come out and form this crazy kind of growing posse of people raiding other countries to just survive and to get loot and stuff to live on and survive on.
Yeah.
Because their own lands were doing so badly. Now, a lot of these people, I think, poured out from Middle Eastern, not Middle Eastern, Middle European, Eastern Mediterranean countries. No, from the edge of Europe, all around Spain and up the middle bit of Europe where Greece and Italy and all that stuff is, and especially Sardinia and Corsica. And I think there was this big culture going there that had a lot going with tin and copper, the stuff to make raw bronze and that kind of thing. And they had this big thing going on, but they were let down by agriculture. So they started getting out in their ships and raiding. And they had all these ships that had these fronts of ducks and were wildly painted. These sea people, as they ended up being called, who I think were a conglomeration of many different races, but were a lot of them Sardinia and Corsica and that kind of thing, and Sicily, and from all the little islands around the Mediterranean on that European side. They went storming round through the Hittite kingdoms and through the kingdoms under that, which had Babylon and the Mesopotamians, and they stormed round. They were only really stopped by the Egyptians. And they wouldn't raid on land and that kind of thing. They would come out of the sea. There would be a large group on land, but the initial raid would come from the sea and would fuck all your stuff up. And while that was happening, because everyone lived on the coast around the Mediterranean then, they'd be fucking all that. And then this huge amount of other troops, ancillary troops, would pour in behind and really mess things up. And they had this sort of theology that's worked so well in gaming, this rule of war that's often works in gaming of join us and come with us on our crusade, or you die and we smash everything up. We're already stealing everything you've got. So if you want to live and you want to eat, you have to come with us and raid these new places. And I reckon this idea spread as a plague round the Mediterranean, following a famine, and created this strange tribal gypsy culture, which we've never quite lost, this strange gypsy pirate gangster culture right at this very early age. And it swept round, and it was only stopped by the Egyptians, who told us in their hieroglyphics that they'd taken these people as captives and made them a slave race within them. And then you see this name for the sea people change into the Canaanites, who eventually become the Israelites, who eventually become these let my people go, and they're doing all this magic and complaining and causing plagues and this kind of shit. And so they let them go, and they go off and they become the Israelites. And if you think about it, these people had been funneled from a wide culture into a small culture, been kept as a slave race, forced to breed into each other. So they've got a whole load of really good genetics to begin with, and then they're forced to hammer that into what became the Jewish people of today, who are quite interesting but quite genetically weird people, very clever, very all this and that. No, but they are. But they're very warlike. They're very keen on genocide, because this is the thing the sea people would do. If you didn't immediately sort of surrender and turn it all over, they'd just massacre everyone. Everyone. They had all these mad, wonderful clothes. This is what I think. There you go.
It's not unprecedented in the sense that Vikings were known for kind of the same thing.
Well, I think Vikings were a part of it. I think it literally stretched around that far. There were Celts from all over the place, because you look at Celtic history, and we were the weirdest people on the planet, and we were very big on killing everyone they didn't kowtow and play ball. We kept heads in our houses, severed heads of our people, until the Romans came and taught us not to do it anymore. I mean, so I can see the Celtic European culture of that time, and so many of us being seafaring and basing our cultures on the bounty of the sea and the bounty of other people's countries, and raiding them and shit like that and stealing all their gold. Now I can see we were doing that to each other for centuries, and then this big famine happened. We realized nobody next to us had anything to steal, and we thought, well, where is the only place on the planet that is rich and has food? Oh, it's the Mediterranean. It's the grain belt down there on the north of Africa. And so we just invaded the north of Africa. Like, I reckon it was Europe fucking invading the north of Africa, and we ended up there as the fucking Jews.
Well, I was stunned to find out that Vikings took over what we call today Sicily, and they owned it for like generations.
Yeah, and the Moors owned Sicily for ages. And you look at their culture and their...
Keep in mind, though, that Viking is not a group, an ethnic group, but rather a job description like pirate.
Yeah. Well, we think of it, when we use the term, we just kind of think of a certain time and place, sort of a region where there is a mix of cultures that we identify them all as. But what you were saying is right. The term Viking actually, originally in its origin, is an action or an activity.
If I could show you some early pictures of the sea people, and you see how many of them have these spiky horned helmets, with two horns sticking out of the front, or with this crazy middle horn and that kind of thing. When I looked at this stuff, like about a year and a half ago, after watching a lot of Sargon stuff, I got interested in Mediterranean Bronze Age history, and this sea people legend kept popping out at me. And so I traced it a bit and poked around here and there, and it really it looks like what it looks to me, like they had this massive famine in Europe, and it pushed all these warlike tribes into just robbing the Mediterranean for whatever it could, and it failed, and a whole bunch of them ended up in slavery, or
Okay.
some bigger warlike tribe had forced them down.
Talking about history and these types of things that we're going through right now, actually reminds me a lot of one of the things I've tried telling people about how I distinguish what's going on with immigration in Europe right now from immigration as it is typically thought of, which is, okay, for the Romans, we'll use them as an example with this. There was a long period of time when barbarians, in quotations, were allowed in small numbers or under certain circumstances, right? But
we're auxiliaries in the Roman army. We could have quite high rank in Rome. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, they could even become known as free men, right? A certain kind of status. There's different ways that this was handled, but the problem was when they couldn't hold them back altogether and they started coming in en masse, right? This is what's called mass migration. And mass migration is usually forced through dire times. And there's always violent struggles that accompany it over dominance or who's going to say how life is going to be.
And there was, in the case of the Roman Empire, there were people pushing those Europeans into invading Rome.
And also very important, when they got into the city of Rome to sack it for the first time, it was Romans from inside who opened the gates.
The gates, yes.
Also
fucking
very
lefty.
poignant.
Fucking lefties. Lefties who should have been crucified when you had the chance. You let yourself get cucked, ancient Rome. You cucked yourselves. That's what happened.
Well, the Celts used to sack Rome all the time.
Well, they should have. They should have just.
They run in naked. When a guy runs in naked at you with nothing but paint on and swinging his weapon, and I don't mean his penis. And you're in this big armor thing, and he has down,
I'm not worried. No barbarian puts fear into me. I cut him down. I stand my ground, wait for him to get within stabbing distance, and I put my gladius through him, just right up and under, They don't like it up them. They don't like it up them at all. These barbarians.
Right to the hilt.
Wait till you see the reds of their beards, then just stick it up them. Just, if they get too close, jam your shield in their face. Yeah, just get that right up there, and and then pull it away and just stick your thing in. Come on, even you can manage that.
Wiggle it around a little.
Wiggle it around a little.
Yeah,
you gotta stick your finger and you gotta wiggle it around.
Well, due to the nature of the curved blade and the fact it slopes towards the hilt, it won't get stuck in your victim, because it makes a bigger wound hole than you need for an exit hole. That was one of the wonderful things about your Roman gladius. It's an engineering feat of military wonder, that appeals to modern day soldiers like myself. Yes, I remember we could have used these in Iraq.
Yeah,
we should I would love to get a load of people together and make a series of spoof documentaries, a military one, an ancient alien one. Yeah, that whole bit. We'll go around just looking at these really badly built walls and go, look, you can't fit a Rizzler in here. It's just not even if you're really stoned. Like, fucking, there must have been aliens. Fucking amazing.
Caesar gained the advantage because he had a GPS system for his soldiers on his cell phone.
Yeah, Jesus gave it to him. Constantine was the same. Like he had this big battle at the end, and they painted all this stuff on the fields, which was really, really shiny, and it was UV, and they used clouds to create a harp-like effect. Yeah, like they changed the weather, they gravitationally lensed the clouds, and it pissed off the barbarians who ran away.
That's a brilliant idea for the next iPhone commercial. Is they should have some people pursuing the Holy Grail, and they finally uncover the Holy Grail, and it's the iPhone.
It's
iPhone
boring.
7.
Yeah, it's just an iPhone 7. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
chose wisely.
Yeah, and you swipe the screen and it says like time travel now type thing, like it's got an app for time traveling, and that's why it's come back here. And it's suddenly you go, now I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it has to go
Bloody
88 miles per
Apple.
hour for it to have that feature.
You can have the Back to the Future theme for their next commercial. You hit an app, and the flux capacitor appears on it. They put it on their little control thing on the car. 88 miles an hour.
Sorry, man. My giggling when I'm doing bongs just sounds incredibly odd.
I was, Ian, do you know who Robert M. Price is? I was just talking to Karn about it. Do you know who that is?
Not off the top of my head, Robert M. Price. It rings a vague bell, but no.
He focuses on New Testament, but he's a biblical scholar.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he first made kind of a lot of he got a lot of attention because he was one of the people that questioned whether there's evidence that Christ was a historical person or not. And
the historicity of Christ, yeah.
Yeah, he's often that people who think like him often are referred in a.
Here's a fun argument on the historicity of Christ. Yeah. It would be more likely that he was a creation of God if he'd never existed, and we have him so much in our culture, so much written about.
So what's that? Sorry,
where the hell did it come from? If he didn't exist, where the hell did Christ come from?
Well, that's what he talks about is the religious traditions of compiling
ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a new group will take over for a larger area, and then they'll gather up all the scripture and they'll destroy anything, and
find weird. You have a new scripture with only main details being like the birth, the time of year, that kind of thing, the method of birth, just a few facts, and everyone else's interpretation of what good humans should be cobbled on top. So if you scrape away all the stuff about us and look at the stuff probably about the religion, then you might actually see what this core religion was.
Well, and one of the arguments that I have too with people is, what do you mean by a historical person? And I'm not trying to be, wayward, meaningless with asking that. Like, if you have Julius Caesar is often used as a counterexample about how much we know of him compared to Jesus. Okay, but
I mean that's stupid because it was different times.
Right, but it's the what we know about them and how we know it that makes the difference, right? Like we know a lot about the economics of his time while he was in charge or while he was alive.
Yeah,
the soldiers,
great records,
wars.
Yeah, we have great records, and the problem is we have records of Pontius Pilate, but we don't have records of him putting a judgment on Jesus and crucifying Jesus.
Right.
We don't have records of Barabbas or any of the people mentioned crucified on that day.
The biggest one we don't have in the New Testament is the empire-wide census where everyone had to go to their ancestral home.
Yeah. Did that happen at all? Even
no,
that did actually happen. No, it didn't happen.
The empire would have fallen apart if everyone had to go and do that.
Exactly. Right.
And certainly we would have made a few historical notes about it.
But here's the thing: could the empire in the time of Constantine have done a census? They could, couldn't they?
Well, yeah.
They must have done censuses by then. So to them, censuses were normal. But in the time of Jesus, fucking Rome couldn't manage that. Yeah, that's a very good point.
They could have done some type of census. However, not there.
They wouldn't have done that for Israel, would they?
Well, the thing that makes it ridiculous is that people empire-wide are supposed to go to their ancestral home, right? And so the purpose in the story, because when it was written, they
not going to work in Rome, is it?
Yeah, the idea.
That's just not going to work in Rome.
Well, the idea of history for the authors was was ridiculous in the sense that they weren't thinking they were writing a historical tale. They were telling a truism or a mythology for people to believe in. So they needed to get Joseph and Mary to Bethlehem. And so this is the way to do it. Now, if you look at it from a historical point of view, this is ridiculous, right? Like, if Joseph had to go to his ancestral home, centuries ago, then where would everyone else in the empire have to go? How would this be determined? You know?
Well, you're forgetting something else on top of that. Bethlehem didn't exist until 200 AD.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about Bethlehem being that there are different things like Bethlehem that are argued about the actual meaning of it being a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the mythology. So I think Bethlehem is supposed to mean the breadbasket or something like that. Something like that.
Like the Midwest instead of just Utah.
Yeah, and there's a tie-in to Bethany, something to do with the name Bethany. I've heard a lot of this stuff over the years. But the point is that these authors are not historically accurate because they weren't intending things to be written from a historian's point of view.
I tell Christians all the time that they're like, well, God created Adam and Eve and from his rib and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you do realize that's a story about growing up, right? The loss of innocence when you start realizing the world around you, right? They realized they were naked and they covered up. Little children don't cover up. They run outside naked. Woohoo, look, I'm flapping around. When you're talking real young, they don't care. They haven't got that mindset yet, right?
Yeah.
But as you grow up, you're like, oh, you develop, quote unquote, shame, and you try to cover yourself up, and then you realize that the world isn't perfect. There's death, disease, famine, ice capades.
Which is what mythology is supposed to be for. Is not that it doesn't contain truths, but it's not a historical accounting of what we think were actual events.
Yeah, it's apocryphal. The word is apocryphal.
Right.
Is it?
For those who maybe consume.
What word's apocryphal?
The word he's looking for.
About
that one.
Where it's
Yeah, I don't believe such a word ever existed.
It's
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's not apocryphal. It's empty.
No, there's no such word. No such word. You kids, you've been watching too many YouTubes. Oh my, this would never fly in academia.
My Aikido sensei, she called it the boob tube.
The boob.
You do Aikido?
That's what she called.
What's that like?
That's what she called it.
Yeah.
From a teacher who's been teaching it for 40 years. Very, very interesting.
It
was at a community college that I took it.
Yeah.
No, she's been teaching it for 40 years. Teaching.
Oh, right.
My ex-girlfriend's father had the same teacher when he was a kid.
Yeah. I hope you're very careful with her. Yeah. She must be over 40 if she's doing that. I hope you're not pushing her around.
She could kick my ass.
Well, don't make her do that. Yeah, just be nice. That's all I'm saying. That's all right. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're a real gentleman.
Well, she's flipping me on the ground, and she's like, "Go the right way. This will end faster." I'm like, "I'm trying."
Yeah. Please, just. Yeah. Yeah. I've always had an eye, a yen for Aikido, but I'm not very martial, and so I'm not very fit. So I avoid that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm delicate. I'm a delicate man. I'm easily broken. So I avoid the fighting stuff. Yes.
Steven Seagal.
Your masculinity is fragile.
No, my masculinity is fine, but my body is quite stick-like. I get in a lot of fights. Actually, I've got numerous criminal convictions for assault and affray and wrecking with the cops and that kind of thing. But here's the thing: I've learned over the years that I break much more easily than larger men, and so I shouldn't get into the same fights as them, even though I'm a real fucking hothead and it's hard to avoid. But there we go. Yeah, no, broken nearly everything in my body, especially bits in my face and my nose and shit. But there we go. A lot of missing teeth. Stupid fights.
That sounds like
Drunken fights.
An unpleasant history of physical pain.
Yeah, drugs and drink and crime and stupidity and.
Europe. Do you live in Gotham?
No, I was just a massive dick when I was much younger. A much more massive dick.
I think it's more like 15 men other than Manchester. Yo ho ho with a bottle of rum.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, we've been going for almost 3 hours, so I think I'm gonna shut her down.
So only 3 more to go now.
Oh, 3 minutes. Before we hit our 8 hour.
let's wander off. You know, yeah, I want to go listen to some music.
Alrighty, well, 2 weeks, I'll send you guys an invite again.
Oh, it was really good
All
fun.
right.
I really enjoy our podcasts.
Yeah, I always enjoy having you guys on.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, any crimes you guys commit, I am not associated with. Unless I like them.
This is England, isn't it? We don't have guns, so nobody gets shot, and everyone, you know, just stuff happens a lot, and everyone grows out of it. It's all good.
No one gets shot so long as you give 24-hour notice.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. It's all changed now, hasn't it? Yeah. Right. Alright, bugger off now then.
Alrighty, man.
Cheers.
Have a good one. See you, Karn.
See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.